She was Sienna Zheng, a financial journalist determined to be the best in her field. For months, she had been preparing to interview the most mysterious and legendary CEO in the business world, Ethan Scheih. Who was Ethan Scheih? A legend. At just 27, he took over his family's floundering prestige bank, and against a chorus of doubt and negativity, single-handedly turned its fortunes around. Getting an interview with a name as big as Ethan Scheih meant instant recognition for any journalist. Today was the day, and she had been looking forward to it for far too long. But her hopes were dashed with a single phone call. "Hello, due to a personal matter, Mr. Scheih will need to postpone the interview for a week." That was unacceptable. News articles live and die on their timeliness. A week's delay would make her story completely irrelevant. She pleaded with the assistant on the other end. "A week is too late. Is there any way Mr. Scheih can squeeze me in? Tonight is fine. Even a phone interview would work. 3 hours. No, 2 hours is all I need." Finally, the assistant relented. He told her that Mr. Scheih had an important banquet that evening, but he could arrange a spot for her. He couldn't guarantee Mr. Scheih would have time, and she might end up waiting for nothing. But hearing there was a chance, she immediately agreed. The moment she hung up, Sienna collapsed onto her desk, completely drained. Her period had just started, and the cramps were killing her. A colleague asked her what was going on. Weren't she and her boyfriend celebrating his birthday tonight? Sienna sighed. "I have no choice. Do I bail on my boyfriend, or do I bail on Ethan Scheih?" Just then, her boyfriend called. A clear, cheerful male voice came through the phone. "Babe, when are you getting off work? I'll come pick you up." She felt a pang of guilt. "I'm so sorry. Something important came up for an interview. I don't think I can make it tonight." To her surprise, her boyfriend wasn't angry at all. He was incredibly understanding, telling her that work was more important and that he'd just celebrate with a friend. Feeling even more guilty, she apologized again. He just reassured her it was only a birthday and they could celebrate together anytime, then quickly hung up. Her colleague sighed sympathetically. "Life's tough. But honestly, your boyfriend is almost too understanding. If I bailed on my boyfriend during our honeymoon phase, he'd be furious no matter the reason." Sienna had to admit her colleague had a point. Her boyfriend hadn't even asked if she was feeling unwell before rushing off the phone. "Well, maybe I'm just being overly sensitive because of my period." Since she chose work, she had to see it through and nail this interview. That evening, she waited in the spot Ethan Schei's assistant had arranged. The cramps were a constant torment, and 2 hours passed without any sign of him. Suddenly, Ethan's brother-in-law, Peter Chin, happened to walk by, just as her phone rang. It was the assistant, apologizing profusely. After the banquet, Mr. Scheih had other business and wouldn't be able to make it. Sienna's face fell. Even though the assistant had warned her this might happen, the reality of being stood up still stung. She went to the venue's exit. As the crowd from the finished banquet poured out, spotting several familiar faces she had interviewed before, suddenly a drunk old man latched onto her. "Well, if it isn't reporter Jung, all alone? Let me give you a ride home. It's pouring out there. You'll never get a taxi." Just as he reached for her, she took a sharp step back and refused. "No, thank you. My boyfriend is coming to get me." Peter Chin saw the whole exchange and leaned over to the man beside him. "I've been interviewed by that young woman before. She's a good person. I hear she waited for you all night. It's not easy." "Ethan, why don't you give her a ride?" Ethan Scheih narrowed his eyes, glancing at the somewhat disheveled young woman in the distance. A moment later, a Rolls-Royce pulled up in front of her. His assistant courteously opened the door, and Ethan walked up behind her. "Miss Jung," he said, "I'll give you a lift." She instinctively pegged him as another shallow playboy, and used the same line to turn him down. "No, thank you. My boyfriend will be here to get me any second." A little while later, her boyfriend actually showed up. He was later than she expected, but with the rain pouring down, she understood. Since it was his birthday, she asked who he'd celebrated with, hoping he'd had a good time. But the question seemed to make him flustered. She playfully guessed it was his best guy friend, and he immediately agreed, praising her for knowing him so well. But as she leaned in, she caught a faint whiff of perfume on him. "That's weird. I didn't think his friend Mr. Macho Man would ever wear perfume. Did he get a girlfriend or something?" Suddenly, her boyfriend pushed her away gently and ruffled her hair, telling her to stop fooling around while he was driving. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. He'd been ruffling her hair a lot lately. Soon she was home. Exhausted from the long day, she was ready to crash. But then she realized her phone was missing. She remembered using it as she left the banquet. It wasn't stolen, it must have been left in her boyfriend's car. She immediately opened the Find My Device feature on her tablet. The phone's location pinged at a hospital. "It's raining so hard. Could he have gotten into an accident?" She threw on a coat and rushed to the hospital. Sure enough, his car was parked right out front. She just didn't know why he'd be at the hospital in the middle of the night. The next second, he walked out of the entrance, but he wasn't alone. A brown-haired girl was snuggled up against his side. They were acting intimately, like a real couple, laughing and talking under a shared umbrella. The sight hit Sienna like a bolt of lightning. So her strange feelings were right all along. It wasn't that he was understanding, he just didn't care. He hadn't spent his birthday with his best friend, he'd been cheating on her with this other woman. The perfume, the constant hair ruffling. It wasn't just her imagination. The signs had been there all along. The 3 years he'd spent pursuing her, the sincere promises he'd made, they were all lies. The fragile, fake dream shattered completely in that instant. She trudged back home, her heart aching, as she looked at the photos of them together. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. It was him. After a moment of silence, he started to explain. The girl's family was a big deal. Her uncle drove a Rolls-Royce with a custom license plate, the only one in all of River City. He wasn't just rich, he was powerful. The thought of fast-tracking his career by 20 years, of not having to struggle to afford a house, was too tempting. He just couldn't resist cheating. He even started to sound remorseful, saying he had truly loved Sienna and wanted to be with her forever. But now he thought they'd be better off as friends. Hearing that, she turned around, gathered all his belongings, and threw the basket of trash at him. "Who the hell wants to be your friend?" she roared. "I'd rather be your ancestor." And just like that, she broke up with him on the spot. The next day, she showed up to work, looking so disheveled that her editor-in-chief was shocked. But after Sienna explained what happened, her editor was relieved. She'd always said that man wasn't good enough for Sienna, but Sienna had treated him like a treasure. She'd gone to great lengths to poach Sienna from the newspaper, wanting to make her the star of Finance Weekly. With Sienna's talent and looks, she could have anyone. Why was she so hung up on a social climber? But Sienna's confidence was shaken. The image from last night replayed in her mind. Her ex's new girl had an uncle with a Rolls-Royce and a custom plate. What kind of man could she find? One who also drove a Rolls-Royce? To her surprise, her editor replied, "Why not? You're talented and hardworking. Your future is limitless. What's so special about a Rolls-Royce?" But she also reminded Sienna not to let her relationship problems affect her work. She needed to pull herself together for the Financial Center Summit that afternoon. That afternoon, Sienna changed into a new outfit and followed her GPS to the financial center. On her way, she had the terrible luck of running into her ex-boyfriend and the other woman. They had broken up just that morning, and here they were, holding hands and parading around. What rotten luck. Her ex was clearly flustered to see her and whispered to the girl that they should come back another time. But the girl deliberately put on a whiny voice. "No, I want a drink from this shop. Coco gets cranky if she doesn't have it every day." Sienna realized the girl knew exactly who she was. And the bracelet on her wrist looked painfully familiar. It all clicked. Sienna raised her voice intentionally. "Looks like a dog will always go back to its own vomit." The girl, hearing this, turned around, her teeth clenched. Sienna forcefully threw her coffee cup into a trash can. Just like some people who just love using secondhand goods. Damn it, don't get mad. They're not worth it. If I ever run into people like this again, I'll stay far, far away." But the next second, she saw a familiar Rolls-Royce parked nearby. The license plate was customized. It had to be the car her ex had mentioned, the one belonging to the other woman's uncle. Are you kidding me? He accompanies her to the hospital. He follows her on dates. This uncle is acting as a wingman for his home-wrecking niece. No wonder my ex was so obsessed with this Rolls-Royce. She'd figured it out. If you don't make some people pay, they won't see you as graceful. They'll just think you're a fool. Her ex-boyfriend wanted a 20-year shortcut, didn't he? He wanted a powerful backer, right? What's so great about a Rolls-Royce? Even if she couldn't make her ex pay, she would make it so that whenever he had to suck up to his new family, he would have to respectfully call her auntie. And then she'd dump the whole family. Who said she couldn't be the villain? In an instant, she swapped her Devour Man red lipstick for a more seductive Manslayer shade and knocked on the window of the Rolls-Royce. There was no response. She knocked again, a little lighter this time. Still nothing. That's strange. Is there no one inside? The next second, the window began to lower. She looked inside, and her eyes widened. The man sitting there was the same rich kid from last night, who had offered her a ride. The one she'd rejected by saying her boyfriend was coming. This reunion was more than a little awkward, but she had come this far. She had to see it through. She purposefully tucked a strand of hair behind her ear and spoke to the man in the car. "Sir, my phone died, and I can't call a cab. Could I possibly borrow your phone to make a call?" Time seemed to freeze again. The man in the car didn't respond. He hit on me before, so he must be at least a little interested, right? She decided to press her attack. "Or if you're willing, you could give me a ride." Finally, the man who had been ignoring her turned to look at her. But his next words were a flat rejection. "My car doesn't give rides to women with boyfriends." And with that, the Rolls-Royce sped away, leaving her in the dust. Her grand declaration of revenge shattered instantly. It seemed this rich kid held a grudge. This was mortifying. Forget it. I'll just focus on work. A failure in love meant she had to succeed in her career. Today's interview with the financial titan Ethan Shai had to be a success. Soon she arrived at Prestige Bank. As she was signing the visitor log, she saw a very familiar name on the list, Yulia Shu. Yulia was her colleague, and they had never gotten along. From Sienna's first day, Yulia had been targeting her, and over the past 2 years, she'd stolen her sources more than a few times. Her worst fears were confirmed. As soon as she walked into the office, Ethan Shi's assistant came up to her, surprised. "What are you doing here? Didn't you say you had something else to do?" It turned out her colleague Yulia had already come that morning for the interview when Mr. Shi happened to be free. Sienna felt a pang of disappointment. She'd been scooped. Just then, everyone's attention shifted to one spot. A door opened, and a man who seemed to radiate light walked out. "Wait a minute, isn't that the uncle?" Suddenly, the assistant next to her addressed the man, "Mr. Shi." Her world fell apart. The nameless rich kid from the other night, the other woman's uncle she'd failed to pick up, was also the financial titan she'd been chasing, Ethan Shi. Her ex really knew how to pick them. The assistant walked over to Ethan and whispered something. Ethan's gaze fell on her. She felt completely lost, but forced a smile onto her face. Was she really just going to slink away and pretend nothing happened? No, she wouldn't. She suddenly turned and called out, "Mr. Shi! We had an interview scheduled for this afternoon. I've been looking forward to it for a very long time. Would you happen to be free now?" She swore it was the brightest smile she had managed in years, because not only was she going to get this interview, she was also going to become his auntie. Ethan just glanced back at her, before turning and walking away. It seemed she had failed again. Not only had her unscrupulous colleague stolen her interview, but her plan to become her ex-boyfriend's aunt had hit a roadblock. But just as the elevator doors were about to close, Ethan suddenly looked back and called out to her, "Come on." Oh my God, he was a living saint. It looked like she wouldn't be pulling her hair out after all. As the elevator descended to the second basement level, she asked curiously where they were going. Suddenly, Ethan's phone rang. He glanced at the screen and immediately declined the call. A second later, his assistant's phone rang. The assistant answered hesitantly, and a girl's shriek came through the speaker. "Tell my uncle to get on the phone now!" Sienna froze. It was her ex's new girlfriend. But Ethan simply told his assistant, "Tell her that if she's not going to listen to the family, she shouldn't show her face to me." Sienna then realized that while Ethan might spoil his niece, he was also a powerful and unyielding figure in his family. "He's perfect for me to use as a shield and live a life of luxury." "Hey, you little homewrecker, just you wait!" Once they reached the underground parking garage, Ethan told her he had a 2-hour drive and she could conduct the interview in the car. As soon as they got in, Ethan took off his gold-rimmed glasses and glanced at her from the side. She sat beside him like a perfect lady, every movement exuding elegance. "This should pass for good impression management, right?" Sure enough, Ethan suddenly asked, "Are you cold?" Oh my God. Is this something Ethan Shi would actually ask me? He's so thoughtful and considerate. She decided to press her advantage. Turning her face to a 3-4 angle, tilting her head down 15 degrees into the soft backlight, she replied gently, "I'm not cold." It was her most flattering angle. But after hearing her reply, Ethan immediately told his assistant to open the window. A gust of wind rushed in, messing up her carefully styled hair and making her shiver. "Hello? Just because I said I'm not cold doesn't mean I'm hot." She decided it was time to get back to business. She pulled her hair into a neat ponytail, took out her voice recorder, and prepared to interview him. "Mr. Shi, I'm starting the recording now." He acted as if he hadn't heard her, not even moving his lips. He looked like he was about to fall asleep. "Do I really look that uninteresting?" She forced a smile and continued, "I'll be recording the entire conversation, and I'll send you the final draft for your review." Still no response. He kept his eyes closed, resting. Fine. She decided to just dive in. With someone like him, I guess I have to be direct. She began asking the questions she had prepared. As he listened, Ethan slightly opened his eyes. The questions she was asking were identical to the ones her colleague had asked earlier. When she finished, she blinked expectantly, waiting for his answer. But Ethan just glanced at her, let out a small scoff, and looked away. She was fuming inside. What does that look even mean? Does he have some kind of ulterior motive? The next second, however, Ethan began to answer her questions. She snapped to attention and started listening intently. As expected of a financial titan, his logic was impeccable, and his points were all interconnected. Before she knew it, nearly 2 hours had passed. Keeping up with his pace required her full concentration. Unconsciously, she glanced up and caught sight of his chiseled profile. He may have a weird personality, but he's definitely top tier in the looks department. Suddenly, Ethan opened his eyes and looked at her. "Are you done asking?" Startled, she blurted out, "I'm done looking." Oh God, how embarrassing. Thankfully, the driver announced they had arrived, breaking the suffocating tension. "Thank you, driver, for saving my life." But where are we? This looks like the middle of nowhere. Just then, Ethan told her she could leave. Leave? How am I supposed to leave this godforsaken place? On horseback? Where's the horse? Seeing that he was actually about to leave, she quickly chased after him with one more question. a trivial piece of gossip that was already making rounds online. So, Mr. Shy, do you have a girlfriend? Ethan paused and turned to look at her. She smiled back at him, trying to look innocent. It was common for reporters to end interviews with a lighthearted question to ease the atmosphere, but in reality, her hands were clenched into tight fists. He turned to face her, his gaze probing. Just as he was about to answer, a man's voice called out from a distance, "Ethan!" Her eyes followed the sound, and her jaw dropped at the sight of the older man in riding gear. Isn't that the famous finance legend, Mr. Guan? He's a living textbook, an industry leader. She quickly greeted him. "Hello, Mr. Guan. I'm Sienna Zheng, a reporter from Finance Weekly." Mr. Guan smiled and nodded. "Finance Weekly. Ah, I remember you. You've written some excellent articles. I didn't realize you were such a young lady." Sienna lowered her head humbly. After the brief introduction, Mr. Guan clapped Ethan on the shoulder and said cheerfully, "Well, Ethan, I thought you were coming alone and hadn't prepared anything. We don't get many young ladies out here." His tone made Sienna realize something instantly. Mr. Guan had mistaken her for Ethan's girlfriend. So she decided to put on an Oscar-worthy performance. "Wow, it's so beautiful here. Uncle Guan, you've taken such good care of this place. And wow, the horses are so pretty. I've never seen any like them." Mr. Guan fell for it, seeing her as a naive girl captivated by the scenery. Little did he know, in Ethan's eyes, her performance had been over the top from the very beginning. Luckily, even though Ethan saw right through her, he didn't kick her out, or her act would have fallen flat. Suddenly, Mr. Guan led a horse over and asked if she wanted to learn to ride. Sienna was surprised. "Can I really?" Mr. Guan nodded, telling her there were some of his wife's old clothes in the changing room she could wear if she didn't mind. She eagerly agreed. She'd never ridden a horse before, and had always wanted to try. Soon she was dressed in a red riding outfit, needing only a belt. An idea sparked in her mind. Knowing Ethan was behind her, she pretended to struggle and called out to him, "Mr. Shy, how do you tie this belt? Could you show me?" Sure enough, she heard his footsteps approaching. But what came next wasn't his help, but a heart-stabbing remark. "If you don't know how to ride, then don't." What was this? Just a moment ago, Sienna had changed into her riding gear and come out to the paddock. From the conversation between Ethan and Mr. Guan, she'd gathered that they weren't related. Mr. Guan was simply an old friend of Ethan's father. For someone as proud as Ethan to come all this way to spend time with him showed how much respect he had for the old man. So she was certain that no matter how much Ethan disliked her, he would be on his best behavior in front of Mr. Guan. Especially when Mr. Guan said, "Ethan, why don't you teach the young lady how to ride?" Ethan actually nodded, a slight smile playing on his lips as he gestured for her to go ahead. The expression was a little unsettling. Whatever. It's not like he's going to feed me to the horses, right? She mounted the horse. "Mr. Shy, you just have to teach me the basics." But before she could finish, Ethan leaped onto the horse and settled in right behind her. Her heart hammered in her chest. What is this? This is not the kind of teaching I had in mind. Ethan asked her what was wrong, and she mumbled an excuse about being nervous since it was her first time. So Ethan told her to hold on tight, while he handled the reins. The horse moved at a slow, steady pace, the evening sun bathing them in a warm glow. For a moment, it felt serene. She thought that maybe, just maybe, Ethan could be a gentle person. Soon the horse entered the track, where Mr. Guan was waving to them from ahead. The next second, Ethan flicked the reins, and the horse shot forward like a rocket. The peaceful atmosphere shattered, replaced by a dizzying rush. "Slower, slower," she begged. But the horse didn't slow down. It went faster, clearing one hurdle. Then a second, a third, a 10th. She was tossed around, screaming, and nearly fell off. Finally, just before she completely lost it, Ethan pulled back on the reins, and the horse stopped. The sudden halt sent her lurching forward, and she would have fallen if Ethan hadn't grabbed her. She knew it. There was no way Ethan Shy would have a change of heart. Just then he asked, "Still want to learn?" "No!" she yelled. After Ethan's Rolls-Royce dropped her off at home, Sienna realized her earring was missing. But when she turned to look for it, the car was already gone. She had no choice but to let it go for now and try to get it back later. The next day at work, a colleague told her some shocking news. Yulia, the colleague who always had it out for her, had published her article. Not only had she copied Sienna's interview outline for Ethan, but she'd asked the exact same questions. That's when it hit Sienna. No wonder Ethan had given her that strange look in the car. He'd already been asked all those questions. With the end of the quarter approaching, the editor wouldn't want to get involved in a dispute between subordinates. Editor just use whichever article was better. But she wouldn't stand for it. It was her work, so why should she have to worry about someone else publishing it? She went to the restroom to cool down. As fate would have it, the culprit herself, Yulia, walked in while on the phone, likely with their editor. "Are you really not playing favorites with Sienna? Do you know how much of my territory she's taken since she was parachuted into the finance team? And that Ethan She interview, it was the same interview, but Sienna got way more information than I did. In comparison, my article looks like he was just brushing me off. God knows what kind of spell she cast on him. Hearing this, Sienna slammed the stall door open and stared at Yulia's pale face in the mirror. I didn't cast any spells, she said coldly. I'm just more capable, and Mr. Shi happens to like me more. She then gave Yulia a victorious smile. She was ecstatic. Yulia had stolen her interview, plagiarized her draft, and then played the victim. It was clear whose article had been chosen. See, all that hard work paid off. I'm one step closer to becoming his auntie. Later, in a taxi, she told another colleague about it, who couldn't help but laugh. Yulia couldn't even copy the answers right. She really shot herself in the foot. Soon, the taxi arrived at their destination. As Sienna opened the door, she quickly scrambled back inside. Her colleague looked at her, puzzled. Is the pavement hot or something? Sienna pointed miserably outside. Her ex-boyfriend was standing right where she was about to step out. Her colleague didn't know they had broken up, but from Sienna's expression, she could guess. Did you two break up? And you got dumped? And if I'm not mistaken, not only did you get dumped, but you got cheated on? What? How did you guess all that? Because I remember your ex used to drive a Honda. Now he's driving a Mercedes. Sienna looked crushed. Her colleague tried to comfort her. It's just a class. It's only worth about 30 grand. It's not that great of a car. Looks like the sugar mama your ex found isn't that rich after all. That comment made Sienna realize something. Ethan, she drove a Bentley and a Rolls Royce, but his niece was driving a car in that price range? It seemed he wasn't spoiling her too much. It was time to launch another offensive on Ethan. Meanwhile, Ethan found an earring in his car. It had to be Sienna's from the other night. Just then, she called, saying she had left something of hers with him. Hello, Mr. Shy. I think I might have left a pearl earring in your car. Have you seen it? Ethan, holding the very earring in his hand, replied, No, I haven't. She pleaded, Could you please take another look? That earring is really important to me. A playful glint appeared in Ethan's eyes. How important? She made up a story on the spot. It was my grandmother's gift to my mother, and my mother gave it to me. It's a family heirloom. When he didn't respond, she continued, I'm supposed to wear these earrings at my wedding. When I see them, I think of my grandmother. I haven't seen her in a very, very long time. She trailed off with a sniffle. Finally, after enjoying her heartfelt performance, Ethan's lips curved into a satisfied smile. I see it now. She smiled back, thinking she could use the earring to get another meeting. But his next words wiped the smile right off her face. Your family heirloom is made of plastic? Right. He never gave an inch. Sienna got his home address, insisting she would pick up the earring herself to save him the trouble of sending someone. When she arrived, she was stunned by how luxurious his place was. As she raised her hand to ring the doorbell, the door opened automatically. It was a high-tech smart door. She walked in but couldn't find the living room. The lighting was dim. The next second, she saw him sitting by a window as the sun set, head bent over a book. The faint sunlight cast a golden shimmer on his glasses, making him look like a painting. She didn't have the heart to disturb the scene. Finally, a breeze rustled the pages, and Ethan looked up from his book. Your earring is over there. She nodded, surprised he had actually kept it safe for her. She hurried over to get it, and saw a music album by her idol Lana Song in the room. That was strange. Ethan didn't seem like the type to enjoy pop music. Mr. Shy, she asked curiously, are you a fan of Lana Song too? But then she spotted a woman's handbag and scarf on the sofa, and they clearly belonged to a young woman. Her heart sank. He has a girlfriend and she's here? Oh God, I don't want to get into a catfight. She quickly said her goodbyes and prepared to beat a hasty retreat. But just as she was leaving, Ethan asked, You're leaving already? I'm sorry, Mr. Shy, I have a draft to edit, so I won't bother you any longer. She turned to leave. But she stopped halfway to the door. On second thought, the whole girlfriend thing was just something she'd imagined. Was she really going to abandon her entire plan based on a baseless guess? No. Before giving up completely, she needed a definitive answer. She returned to the living room and decided to test the waters. I ran into a bit of an issue on my way here. I was wondering if I could borrow something from your girlfriend. Ethan looked up, confused. Girlfriend? Sienna nodded. The lady in the room. Isn't she your girlfriend? Ethan glanced at the bag and scarf on the sofa, then let out a soft chuckle. No. Sienna smiled, relieved. Oh, that's good. Ethan looked at her, and the next thing she knew, he was standing right in front of her. Good in what way? Sienna's face flushed and she looked down, stammering, not knowing how to answer. Ethan tapped his glass impatiently, waiting for her to speak. Well, it just avoids any unnecessary misunderstandings, she finally managed. He took another step closer. What kind of misunderstandings? She quickly took a step back, lost her footing, and nearly fell, grabbing a nearby cabinet to steady herself. Ethan looked at her and said slowly, Then what about my niece? Won't she misunderstand? Sienna froze. What niece? The homewrecker who was with her ex-boyfriend? If she ran into her right now, all her plans would be ruined. With that thought, she bolted out of the apartment, leaving a bewildered Ethan standing alone. Just then, his niece emerged from a room. "Uncle, was there a woman just now?" She had a net worth in the millions, but was stuck working a 9-to-5 internship for a few thousand a month. She had enough money to last 3 lifetimes. But because her uncle Ethan had declared, "Our family doesn't raise freeloaders," she was thrown into the workforce to toil like everyone else. Inside the Finance Weekly building, Sienna's keyboard clattered away. The editor had assigned her an intern to help out, but one look at the intern's resume, silver medalist in the campus singing competition, president of the university makeup club, told her this was probably some spoiled rich kid she couldn't afford to offend. Just then, a commotion stirred in the office. The intern was standing behind her. "Are you Sienna Zheng? HR told me to find you." Sienna turned around, a look of resignation on her face. The intern enthusiastically introduced herself. "My name is Luna Chin. It's a pleasure to work with you." Okay, no matter how tough things got, she had to give her all to this final draft of the Ethan Shi interview. She decided to give the intern an easy task, handing her a recording of a previous interview. "Just transcribe this and write a rough draft." Luna thought it sounded simple enough. How hard could transcription be? But when she opened the file, she realized it was a recording of an interview with her own uncle, Ethan Shi. The familiar dread of being under his thumb washed over her. The interview was in English, but the professional jargon made it completely incomprehensible. She turned to ask Sienna for help, but Sienna was wearing noise-canceling headphones and couldn't hear a thing. No matter how many times she called her name, Sienna seemed to ignore her and continued with her work. Luna had never been so blatantly disregarded in her life. Before she knew it, the sky had darkened. Sienna stretched at her desk, surprised to see it was already the end of the workday. She took off her headphones and looked over at the intern's desk, which was already empty and spotless. Looks like she's a neat kid, just not a fan of working. Meanwhile, Luna got home and immediately started complaining. "Work is so boring. On my first day, my boss just told me to transcribe a recording. I'm a journalist, not a typist." Her father, Peter Chin, paused. "Is your boss's name Sienna Zheng?" When she nodded, he advised her to learn from Sienna. Luna glanced at her uncle Ethan. He was the one who had gotten her the internship at Finance Weekly after all. She then launched into a tirade against Sienna, hoping someone would take pity on her and rescue her from this misery. Suddenly, Ethan placed his phone face down on the table, wiped his hands, and a small smile played on his lip. A shiver went down Luna's spine. She couldn't tell what her uncle was thinking, but surely he would stand up for her, right? The next day, Sienna came to work, in high spirits. The editor had loved her draft of the Ethan Shi interview, and now all she needed was the green light from Prestige Bank. As soon as she turned on her computer, she saw an email from them. But to her shock, despite the excellence of her work, the feedback was a single word: rejected. Her perfect interview draft for no reason. She revised it several times, but each time the response was the same robotic rejected, with no explanation. She had no idea how she had managed to offend him. Luna, however, was secretly thrilled, assuming her uncle was getting revenge on her behalf. He really is my uncle after all. With the deadline fast approaching, Sienna knew that aimlessly revising the draft was pointless. She stormed into her editor's office. "Editor, give me Ethan Shi's number. I'm going to ask him myself." She left work early and staked out Ethan's apartment building. As his car pulled into the complex, he saw her standing foolishly at the entrance. A gust of wind made her shiver, a small puff of white vapor escaping her lips. Suddenly, she seemed to notice something and looked up, calling out to him as he got out of his car, "Mr. Shi!" But she hadn't thought about what to say next. If she asked, "Do you have a problem with me?" would that sound too aggressive? "So," she blurted out, "I had a feeling you wanted to see me, so I came to find you." Ethan studied her for a moment. "And what makes you think I wanted to see you?" She immediately regretted her choice of words. But now was not the time to back down. She had to stand her ground, even if she was wrong. "Otherwise, why would you reject my draft 3 times? You won't even answer my calls." His reply was a cool, detached, "I wasn't satisfied, not satisfied with what?" she shot back. "Point out what's wrong, and I'll fix it, one thing at a time. I refuse to believe I can't get it right." But he wasn't playing her game. He turned and walked away. She felt like she had punched a pillow. The deadline was looming, and she couldn't give up on the feature she had fought so hard for. Then it must be because you wanted to see me?" As ridiculous as it sounded, it miraculously worked. Ethan paused at his front door and looked back at her. "Then come in." "Unbelievable." Ethan tapped a chair, indicating she should sit there and work. She was even more incredulous. So he really did just want me to revise the draft. Her fingers flew across the keyboard, as she occasionally stole glances at him. He was pouring a drink when he suddenly asked, "Want some water?" "Yes," she replied, but her eyes were on the glass in his hand. "I'll have what you're having." Ethan clarified it was wine, but she insisted. He said nothing more, and poured her a glass. She went back to her draft while he took a phone call. It was his niece, saying she had just bought a fine bottle of wine at an auction and would bring it over. He immediately refused, his gaze drifting to Sienna. At that exact moment, Sienna was peeking at him, her face flushed from the wine, looking particularly alluring. His niece asked why she couldn't come, and he simply said it wasn't a good time, before hanging up. A moment later, Sienna brought her laptop over for him to review her latest revisions. He glanced at it and dismissed it. Still too wordy. Sienna sighed and went back to work. In the quiet living room, Sienna wrote furiously while Ethan rested with his eyes closed. Half an hour later, she brought the laptop to him again. Much more concise, he acknowledged. Are there any other issues? The meaning of this paragraph isn't what I intended. Then what did you intend? Figure it out yourself. Or do you want me to write it for you? Another half an hour passed. This time she was sure it was perfect. After the nth review, Ethan finally nodded. This is fine. She was so used to his rejections that she couldn't quite believe it. Are you sure there's nothing else to change? I can revise it again. You have high standards, and I don't mind. Her tone was dripping with sarcasm. Ethan looked at her suspiciously. You've been in a man's house for this long. Doesn't your boyfriend mind? Hearing this, her smile faded. We broke up. The night I first met you, and then boldly made her move. Can I pursue you? And if I say no, will you stop? Obviously not, so what's the point in asking? She laughed awkwardly, saying it was just a formality. Realizing his niece would be arriving soon, Ethan opened the main gate, a clear signal for her to leave. Sienna packed up her laptop and scurried away, calling back that she would add him on WeChat. Just as she left, she ran into his niece, Luna. Thinking Luna also lived in the complex, she reminded her to bring an umbrella for the rain tomorrow. A moment later, Luna, under the pretense of delivering wine, knocked on her uncle's door. The first thing she saw was a lipstick stain on a glass. Her uncle impatiently told her to put the wine down and go home. A pretty girl was definitely here. Could it have been Sienna, the woman I just saw in the complex? Meanwhile, Sienna got home, cringing at the awkward memory but anxiously waiting for her WeChat friend request to be accepted. Her phone buzzed and she thought it was him, but it was just a friend checking in after hearing about her breakup. Then she saw that her scumbag ex was already posting pictures on social media of his trip with his new girlfriend. The news soured her mood, but she quickly shook it off. She had her own mission now. She picked up her phone and sent a message to Mr. Shi, but fell asleep waiting for a reply. In the middle of the night, she was woken by a vibration. It was a message from Ethan. 2 letters, TD. Could that mean tweeting, unsubscribe? She waited all night, even dreaming that he had replied. But after a whole night, the real response was even worse than unsubscribe. Luna saw that Sienna's draft was being rejected repeatedly, so the pretty girl at my uncle's house wasn't her? Even if Uncle is trying to get back at her for me, he can't torture her like this. Just then, Sienna called out to her. The editor wants you to attend a conference with me. Luna thought she would learn something, but it turned out to be her uncle's press conference. The dread of being under his thumb again hit her like a ton of bricks. That morning, she followed Sienna to the Prestige Group's headquarters. She trailed behind timidly, while Sienna cheerfully pulled her toward the front row. Soon, Ethan walked onto the stage to a round of applause. Under the spotlight, his cool, handsome profile captivated Sienna. He tilted his head slightly and she found herself unconsciously drawn in. To avoid the awkwardness, he quickly looked away. Sienna pulled out her phone and started texting him a barrage of compliments. On stage, Mr. Shi's phone buzzed incessantly. As he took it out, the people around him couldn't help but glance over. His brow furrowed at the flood of flirtatious messages. At least I know he's getting them. When he didn't reply, she sent another round of teasing texts. The next time she looked up, Ethan was giving her a death glare. She quickly dropped her phone and sat up straight. The pressure from her uncle was suffocating Luna, so she made an excuse to step out for some air, whispering that she felt like Mr. Shi was staring at her and it was freaking her out. Sienna glanced over, and then said to Luna with a hint of vanity, "Don't worry, he's looking at me." Luna had no idea where she got that confidence, but she slipped out anyway. Just then, a man walked up to Sienna and greeted her politely. "I'm Ben He, a reporter from the River City Daily. I've read your articles and have wanted to meet you for a while." He continued to try and get friendly. "Why don't we add each other on WeChat?" Thinking another contact couldn't hurt, Sienna took out her phone. As she was about to add him, she saw Ethan looking over from the stage. His expression was different this time. Ethan's face darkened, and he stood up abruptly. "Sienna Zheng, come with me." Sienna was stunned, her mind a blank. Then a thought struck her. Could he be jealous? It looks like I'm one step closer to becoming his auntie. With that thought, she strode excitedly into the meeting room, her heart soaring. "I thought you were a stoic, emotionless guy. Go on, admit it, you're jealous." But when Ethan walked in, his first question was, "Where's the female reporter who was sitting next to you?" Sienna's heart sank. He looked down at her and repeated the question. Seeing his expression, she had no choice but to pull out her phone, and, feeling like a complete tool, make the call. "Luna, where are you?" "Oh, at the cafe outside." She hung up. Mr. She's already left. When he asked where she went, Sienna closed her eyes and lied. She wasn't feeling well and went home. But then he asked what was wrong, and Sienna had to think fast. She has CEO phobia. The moment she sees a powerful person like you, she gets short of breath. Then her tone shifted, her eyes sparkling. I'm different, though. The moment I see you, my heart blossoms. I'm overjoyed and my face lights up. Did she really think he was some naive young man? Ethan turned away, coolly adjusting his tie. She'd overplayed her hand again. Thankfully, his assistant appeared at that moment. Mr. Shai, the press conference is ready to resume. Ethan turned and walked to the door, then paused, glancing back at the woman sitting dejectedly on the sofa. As she was leaving the conference, she saw something that made her heart clench. Ethan with another woman arguing. So that's how it is. If I hadn't schemed to get close to him, would she be the one standing by his side right now? Then I wouldn't be in this situation at all. But this time she had no right to be upset. This was all her own doing, a one-sided calculation. In that moment, Sienna felt like a clown and quickly fled from his sight. Ethan chased her down the street, but she just ran faster. The nerve. Leading me on like this, what does he want? He won't accept me, but he won't reject me either. All while he's involved with other women. At this point, Sienna couldn't tell who was the hunter and who was the prey. But as she tried to hide, Ethan cornered her in a dead end. This is so infuriating. He's probably just waiting for me to come crawling back. But she refused to give in. Ethan approached her from behind. What are you doing standing here? Praying, she said stubbornly. He casually told her it was time to go back. But she retorted defiantly, you go on ahead. Seeing how stubborn she was, Ethan gently tugged on the corner of her coat. Let's go, I'll take you home. And just like that, she meekly got in the car. Sienna barely recognized herself. But she told herself patience is a virtue. This is all part of the grand plan. She puffed out her cheeks in frustration, completely unaware that Ethan was watching her every pout. She felt torn, she should leave. But she also wanted to stay. One look at his slight smile and she caved completely. His secretary's voice came through the phone. Mr. Shai. Ethan snapped back to reality and gestured for the call to continue. Without realizing it, Sienna had fallen asleep. Ethan gazed at her sleeping face, his eyes filled with affection. Seeing her eyelashes flutter, he quickly muted his phone, not wanting to disturb her peaceful slumber. A sudden break caused her to sway and start to fall. Ethan quickly cupped her face, gently propping her back up. So close to her beautiful face, he couldn't look away. Hearing her soft, warm breaths, his throat felt tight. His thumb traced the line of her soft lips. A dangerous look entered his eyes as he stared at his sleeping beauty, his desire to kiss her undeniable. When Sienna woke up, Ethan quickly pulled away, making things incredibly awkward. Mr. She asked sheepishly, have you been waiting long? Sienna Zheng, I'm a busy man, the proud CEO replied, not one to admit anything. She forced a laugh to break the tension, and then expertly made her escape. It was only after she was gone that Ethan allowed a satisfied smile to spread across his face, savoring the lingering warmth. It had been worth it. He couldn't stop replaying the image of her sleeping face. Oh no, I don't think I ever want to wash this hand. Meanwhile, Sienna was over the moon. It wasn't on his way, and he's super busy, but he still went out of his way to take me home. Was he trying to comfort me? But then another thought struck her. Wait a minute. He was just with another woman, and now he's trying to appease me? The more she thought about it, the angrier she got until she let out a shriek of frustration. Then guilt washed over her. Okay, so I have ulterior motives too, but at least I'm loyal to him, right? I shouldn't be the one feeling this conflicted. The next day at Finance Weekly was another victory celebration for Sienna. Luna noticed she seemed down, and a colleague suggested they all go out for dinner to celebrate. Sienna was unresponsive, and the colleague started teasing her about her recent breakup. Finally, Sienna took off her noise-canceling headphones, looking confused and hurt. My headphones were on full volume, I couldn't hear anything. I'm sorry. Luna's head snapped around. She remembered how Sienna had seemed to ignore her before. So it was because of the headphones? It made sense. Sienna didn't seem like the type to be rude. Luna had completely misjudged her, and a wave of regret washed over her. After work, Sienna spent the entire evening waiting for a WeChat notification from Ethan. She had even bought tickets to a Jay Cho concert. All she needed now was him. Finally, she received a friend request. She couldn't believe it. After trying to add him so many times, she was finally in, but it was Ethan's niece. Despite the silly profile picture, Sienna was so excited she convinced herself that the bland, empty profile had to be his. Finally, I've got you. She was so thrilled that she barely registered what the other person was typing. She excitedly sent a picture of the concert tickets. Are you free tomorrow night? She could see the typing in bubble and could barely contain her excitement. Yes, then let's go together tomorrow night. The thought of going to a concert with Ethan had her dressing to the nines the next day. No matter what, becoming his auntie is going to be a piece of cake. Just then, a luxury car pulled up in front of her, and her smile vanished. A pair of legs and black stockings emerged from the car, and her smile froze again. Finally, the woman in the car took off her sunglasses, and Sienna's jaw dropped. What a coincidence. Luna looked confused. Didn't you invite me? Sienna couldn't accept it. She had gotten it completely wrong. They went into the concert, and Sienna spent the whole time staring at her phone. So miserable she nearly fell asleep. If he had actually added me on WeChat, the sun would probably rise in the west. The more she thought about how she was always the one chasing him, the more pathetic she felt, until she burst into tears. You scumbag! You jerk, Ethan! Sienna decided to channel her grief into energy, waving her light stick and turning her complaints into a full-blown performance. Luna noticed her bad mood, and Sienna started crying again. You know, I was just cheated on by a scumbag. And the other woman, her family has this amazing uncle. Luna was shocked. That kind of person should be amputated from the eyebrows down. From that point on, Sienna's dark side emerged. So I'm going to get with her uncle and become their auntie. Luna got pumped up too. Go for it, Sienna. By the end of the concert, Sienna was half dead. Her feet, neck, and back all ached, and she was in a daze while trying to hail a cab. In her disbelief, she saw Ethan in a car nearby, lowering the window. For a second, she thought he was driving toward her. Sienna stared at him, dumbfounded. Is he waiting for me? His gaze was so intense that Sienna couldn't help but gulp. She turned her head away, pouting, and then hobbled over to him. I sprained my ankle, and it's all your fault. You have to take responsibility for me. Ethan glanced at her guilty expression, smiled faintly, and then hit the gas and sped away. Sienna was left standing there, limping and fuming. Scumbags really are heartless. After checking to make sure no one was watching, she started yelling, Ethan Shy, you bastard! You have no conscience, no feelings. Am I not beautiful? Am I not cute? Those 2 eyes under your eyebrows, you might as well donate them to a hot pot restaurant. But the next second she was caught. He had returned. He let out a cold snort, and she immediately straightened up, her tone changing completely. The most dazzling flower of countless springs. As she tried to backpedal, she looked at him. I think I can explain better in the car. In the car, he relentlessly pressed her. Haven't you made it up yet? After a fierce internal struggle, she sighed. Don't rush me. A test has a 90-minute time limit. Then she gave up, clutching her foot and whimpering in pain, then sped to a clinic. But even a slight movement of her foot sent a sharp pain through it. She gave him a pitiful look. Ethan, my foot hurts. I can't get out of the car. He stared at her blankly. She started complaining. It's all your fault. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have sprained my ankle. He adjusted his glasses. I didn't see anything. I donated my eyes to a hot pot restaurant. But his little darling hooked her foot around his leg, shook her head, and said in a cute, whiny voice, Carry me, on your back. Ethan looked at this little minx, wanting to be angry but unable to. Still, his words were as stoic as ever. Sienna Jung stopped being so dramatic. What did I do? She asked innocently. Then he bent down and scooped her up in a one-armed princess carry. Overwhelmed by his manliness, she protested awkwardly. Wait, I asked you to carry me on your back, not hold me like this. Ever since Ethan had first held her, Sienna had started unconsciously flirting with him. She leaned into his neck, inhaling his faint, woody scent and listening to his heartbeat. I can't miss this golden opportunity. She fluttered her big, doll-like eyes and whispered in his ear, Ethan, has your ex-girlfriend ever told you that you look very handsome from this angle? But Ethan was a block of wood. The strength in his arms suddenly slackened as he retorted, and has your ex-boyfriend ever told you that you're very heavy? She puffed out her cheeks in frustration. Am I really that unappealing? In the examination room, Sienna was yelping in pain. Ethan, however, seemed to be in his own world, closing his eyes to rest, then taking a call outside. Fine, I'll just play dead. Doctor, do your worst. After applying the medication, the doctor wrote a prescription. Try not to walk on it when you get home. If you have to, have your boyfriend help you out. Although your boyfriend is a bit cold. Sienna immediately raised her voice, making sure Ethan could hear her from outside. Doctor, you're mistaken. He's not cold. He's just completely heartless. She was still building up her dramatic momentum when she heard the door open. She instantly switched into Oscar-worthy performance mode. But then she saw a nurse approaching with a wheelchair, and she was completely bewildered. By the time she regained her composure, she saw that heartless block of wood already standing there waiting below the hospital. As the nurse pushed her forward, Sienna didn't forget her lines. The medicine is on, but I still can't move my foot. With that, she held out her arms, wanting to be carried. How could Ethan not see through her little tricks? He sighed and bent down. But a cat darted past, and Sienna's eyes widened in terror. With a shriek, she leaped straight into his arms. There's a huge mouse! Get it away from me! A large hand steadied her, and Ethan's imposing presence left her speechless. She had been caught red-handed. You seem to be standing on my foot just fine. His words hit her like a ton of bricks, and she wished the ground would swallow her whole. Sienna had finally reeled in her man. Her plan to become the auntie was halfway to success. But she was still mortified. She couldn't give up now. So she persistently tried to add Ethan on WeChat. I almost forgot, I still need to pay you for the medical bill today. The next second, she was stunned. Oh my god, the man actually replied. But now that she had his actual WeChat, Sienna immediately became more proper. She transferred him the money for the bill, wincing at the cost. But the next second, she saw a transfer returned notification. Consider it your acting fee for today. Seeing her chance, Sienna played along. I don't want an acting fee. I want you to have dinner with me tomorrow. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, Ethan's sister thought something major must have happened. He was staring at his phone and smiling, a man who usually wore a constant frown. Ethan didn't even try to deny it, simply replying to the message, "Tomorrow at 5 p.m., I'll pick you up." Sienna was overjoyed and sent a cute, flirty reply. She thought she'd finally have a nice date with Ethan tomorrow. But the next day, she started to get fussy. But it's our first date. Ethan, which outfit looks better? He watched her fret over her clothes and replied indulgently, "The red one." With that, Sienna started rummaging through her closet but couldn't find anything suitable. Suddenly, she remembered the day they went horseback riding. That was the only day she had worn red, and he seemed to have stared at her for a long time. An idea formed in her mind. Since Ethan is basically begging me to wear it, she paused for a few seconds, then ran to a mall to find the perfect date outfit. When she tried it on, she looked absolutely stunning. The impulse buy was worth it. But on her way to the checkout, she heard a sickeningly familiar voice. That dog of a couple was cooing right next to her. Sienna knew her luck was bad today, but she didn't dare confront them. But it was okay, because Ethan's niece was about to come to the rescue and tear them apart on the spot. But the first thing she did was send him a selfie. "Do I look good? I want a 2-word answer." Ethan's eyes were glued to the picture. He had been in a serious meeting, but now he couldn't look away. She pouted at her phone. "Stubborn Ethan, the hardest thing on your entire body is your mouth." Meanwhile, Sienna, in her red dress, was effortlessly outshining the other woman. "What's so great about that? Our tastes are surprisingly similar," the other woman sneered. Sienna wasn't one to back down. "I'm just playing along. Whoever looks worse is the one who should be embarrassed." The next 3 outfits the other woman tried on were still tacky, but Sienna, standing in the center, looked like a work of art. Her ex-boyfriend was practically drooling, his eyes about to pop out of his head. Just then, Luna appeared like a storm. "Sienna, let me pay for you. Everything except the ones she just tried on. Wrap them up in my sister's size." Sienna was so shocked she could barely breathe. Luna just shrugged nonchalantly. "It's fine. This is a black card my uncle gave me. He won't care about this." Is this the world of the rich? Sienna's worldview was being shaken. It was only after they left, laden with bags, that she could finally breathe again. Luna was thrilled. "Doesn't that feel amazing?" Sienna smirked. "It feels great. This time I'm definitely going to win over that uncle." Ethan hadn't seen her for 3 hours, and he was getting antsy. The moment he was free, he drove to her apartment. The next thing he saw made his blood boil. His little darling was walking with another man. But then his eyes widened. Sienna was wearing a fiery red qipao, her elegant posture and perfect figure captivating at first sight. He couldn't take it anymore. He got out of his car and rushed toward her. "Sienna Zheng, get in the car." She was just wearing a red qipao, and it made Ethan completely lose his mind. But Sienna hadn't expected him to see her. "I was supposed to return all these expensive clothes. Now he's going to think I'm a gold digger, isn't he?" Ethan received a text about a massive charge to his card. But Sienna was more confused. Why is he so desperate to drag me into the car? He's not even letting me go home to put my things down? And are we really going to dinner at a place like this? The sunset over the tranquil lake was a beautiful backdrop for Sienna. Ethan came up behind her, his words just enough to infuriate her. "Why are you so short?" Those 3 words made her practically steam. "What do you mean, short? I've been over a meter tall for years. The bus has never given me a half-price ticket. Don't you talk nonsense with your eyes wide open." At her fierce retort, Ethan walked ahead, secretly smiling. But after a few steps, she looked like she was about to cry. "You promised you'd have dinner with me." Ethan paused and looked back at his soft, pitiful darling. "Isn't this having dinner with you?" But this wasn't what she wanted, and he knew it. Her soft voice tugged at his heartstrings, and he finally took off his gloves. The triumphant Sienna smirked, linked her arm through his, and huffed. "Well, I wasn't exactly pure of heart either, so I'll just play along." She gave his arm a light squeeze, her smile reaching her ears. As they walked in together under the gazes of the other guests, Ethan looked so handsome that her heart skipped a beat. Feeling the heat of everyone's stares, Sienna blushed. So this is what it felt like to be the center of attention. But when she saw the brand representative, she immediately put on her professional face. "Hello, I'm Sienna Zheng, a reporter from Finance Weekly." Just then, she received a text from her scumbag ex. "Sienna, are you free?" Her veins bulged with anger. I deleted your pictures but forgot to delete you. You just love being a pest, don't you? She sent back a biting reply and felt a rush of satisfaction. She felt a gaze on her and her blood ran cold. He looked at her as if she were a child. He narrowed her eyes, staring at the draft on his phone. Are you done chatting? Making a heart-shaped cake? She was so embarrassed she wanted to dig a hole and hide. Some people are alive, but they're already dead. Is Miss Jung not feeling well? He glanced at her. There's no cake on the menu, so she's lost her appetite. Even though her explanation was just a cover-up, she was enjoying it. He even indulgently ordered a whole cart of little cakes for her. Only Sienna could be babied by Ethan like this. He couldn't understand why the Sienna who had tried so hard to get close to him was now so eager to run away. After he dropped her off, she practically sprinted away, not looking back no matter how many times he called her name. As long as I run fast enough, the awkward one won't be me. But she hadn't gone far before a pair of shiny leather shoes caught up to her, and a hand grabbed her. What are you running from? I heard you, she said. He held her hand even tighter, pulling her into his arms. You heard me and you still ran, in a hurry to get home and make your little cakes? She wished she could die. Seeing his mocking expression, she wanted to shake off his hand. So annoying, you jerk, Ethan. But as he let her go, the mocking look on his face disappeared. You left a bunch of your things in my car. Aren't you going to take them? She hadn't misread it. He was definitely laughing at her as he walked away. For the next few days, Sienna pushed him to the back of her mind and had fun with her old college friends. Maybe if I give it some time, he'll contact me. So she waited, visiting attractions with her friends, from morning till night, from night till gossip. Are you serious? You even dared to provoke the CEO of Prestige Bank? Sienna flicked her hair. Why not? He's just a man. I hate to admit it, but I believe you. You've got guts. But in reality, Sienna was terrified and full of guilt. I really haven't bothered him in a long time. In his eyes, she was the prey. What little cakes, what not running away. I'm not going to deal with him. Meanwhile, in River City, Ethan was irritably scrolling through his chat history. He paused when he got to Sienna's profile picture. She hasn't been active in a while. He clicked into her social media, zooming in on her photos. His eyes filled with longing. Just then, Mr. Guan saw his screen. Oh, isn't that the reporter from last time? So, how are things going with the young lady? I read her latest article about you the other day. She's a very sharp writer, more incisive than many men. At that moment, Sienna was fast asleep. As she turned over, her phone suddenly buzzed with a message from Ethan. When are you coming back? Uncle Guan misses you. Sienna woke up wanting to curse. If you want to see me, just say so. Why bring someone else into it? She sent him a barrage of voice messages. Don't leave me hanging. Why would Mr. Guan want to see me? Ethan woke up, rubbing his sleepy eyes, but he was secretly thrilled. He's willing to give you an interview, so he really wants to see you. Sienna was so excited she almost screamed. Thank heavens, thank earth, thank you, boss. I'll fly over to see you right away. But she quickly regained her composure and sent him 3 question marks. Although she didn't have much to hesitate about, she still got Mr. Guan's address. In a small gesture, he suggested she stay in Wucheng for a few more days to see the famous snowscapes. She adjusted her schedule for the following weekend and politely ended the call. The next day, she was out having fun with her college friends again. The third day, she was speeding down a ski slope, taking pictures of the ginkgo trees and the beautiful snow. The fourth day, she was feeding adorable Sika deer. Just as Sienna was thinking, life is so much more relaxing without that difficult Ethan. He was at home, unable to sleep because he was waiting for her. Fuming with impatience, he checked her social media again. Seeing his beautiful woman had completely forgotten about him, he replied to a 3-day-old post. Seeing her ignore him, he angrily tossed his phone aside. But then he saw a new message from her. I'm back. He wanted to rush to see her immediately. But Ethan's pride was his strongest trait. He sent a cool reply. That was quick. Sienna could tell he was being sarcastic. But she had more important things to worry about than him, her career. So she changed into one meticulously chosen outfit after another, and went to the art gallery. She took out her phone, checked her makeup and hair in the reflection. Okay. Then she saw a certain person standing at the entrance. Ethan was waiting for her, his heart full of anticipation. Although Sienna had to admit he looked devastatingly handsome, and she ran toward him like a little snowman. The fact was, he was definitely giving her the cold shoulder. She scoffed, having figured out his proud nature. Ethan, have you been waiting for me? He had just realized the power of her writing, so impressive that it had earned her the respect of Mr. Guan, and they had been talking for a long time. Ethan had been sitting quietly on the side, turning into a jealous stick figure. Have some tea. Don't you love the snow? This was brewed with snowmelt. She glanced at him, sensing his sarcastic tone. The conclusion, looks like the great CEO is jealous of the snow. So she grabbed the cup and started chugging, blowing on the tea and saying, I love the taste of snow. As they bickered, Ethan got so annoyed he ended up lying on the beach. He thought a notification was a message from her, but it was a refund notification. He quickly set his niece to, "Do not disturb. Unlink your bank card from my phone. I don't want to see these junk refund messages anymore." Luna was baffled. "I wouldn't return it even if it rotted. It was my gift to Sienna, right?" She returned it all. At dinner that evening, the three of them sat at the same table. Mr. Guan suddenly asked, "Sienna, how old are you?" 25, she replied politely. Mr. Guan beamed. "That's very compatible with Ethan's zodiac sign. Have you two thought about giving it a try?" Ethan remained impassive, but Sienna's mind was racing. To avoid the awkwardness, she decided to tease him. "Actually, our magazine has a lot of pretty reporters, and Mr. Shai has a particular fondness for good-looking journalists." Ethan shot her a look, but she kept going. "At the last press conference, weren't you staring at the intern for a long time?" "No," he said, his voice tight. Sienna couldn't look at him, but her foot started restlessly tapping under the table, which was driving him crazy. "I was just teasing you," she said helplessly. "What do you want from me?" But then she pointed to a large shrimp. "Ethan, I want to eat that." He immediately picked out a big one, but then the little troublemaker started up again. "Aren't you going to peel it for me?" Ethan's eyes narrowed and she immediately backed down, carefully peeling the shrimp and placing it in his bowl. After dinner, she started praising another man in front of him. "Mr. Guan's interview today was amazing. I'll work even harder on the article." "You seem to really enjoy being a reporter," Ethan said with a smile. "It's all because of my overflowing talent," she said proudly. "To thank you for the introduction, let me compose a poem for you." As Ethan's gaze shifted to the cool sunset, her cheerful voice rang out. "Sienna knows not the distance to River City, but little Ethan's eyes have worn thin with waiting." In that moment, Ethan's world was filled with her. Against the backdrop of the soaring seagulls, she was a breathtaking sight. His heart hammered in his chest, ready to burst. If she wasn't after his money, his connections, his fame, would she be able to hear the call of his heart? After finishing the interview with Mr. Guan, Sienna returned to the office and plunged into endless writing. Before she knew it, it was late at night. She decided to give Ethan a chance and posted a message on her social media, visible only to him. "I'm fine, still okay. Can someone send a bed to the office?" 30 minutes passed, and there was still no sign of him. She had no choice but to wait for a cab. Just then, a handsome guy approached her. "Just getting off work?" She recognized him as the guy from the coffee shop. He quickly ran back to the shop and returned with a limited edition egg tart. "I saved this for you. Just take it." Just in time, Ethan arrived, his jealousy flaring. "Did you pay for that?" She glanced at the fuming man beside her. $100, keep the change." Then he grabbed her hand, pulled her away. He tossed the egg tart into the back of the car and asked her, "You can't eat things from strangers, don't you know that?" Sienna scrambled into the Cayenne. "That guy has seen me more times than you have." Ethan grabbed her by the collar and lifted her up like a kitten. "Sit in the front." As soon as she got in the car, her stomach started growling, and she eyed the egg tarts in the back. A look of indulgence crossed his face. "What do you want to eat? I'll take you." She nodded eagerly, her face lighting up. It wasn't until she had ordered the signature 9-flavor shrimp noodles that she said, "Thanks for the big meal, boss." Ethan had to swallow his pride and play along. Suddenly, she saw her scumbag ex outside, and losing her appetite, went to the restroom. From that point on, Ethan kept his eyes closed. But when he heard that Sienna had broken up, his eyes shot open. And when he heard the scumbag bad-mouthing her, saying she wasn't good enough for him, and had a terrible personality, Ethan's anger flared, and he fixed the scumbag with a death glare. The scumbag seemed even more arrogant, endlessly bad-mouthing her, calling her a gold digger, who licked the boots of various CEOs and looked down on a mere bank clerk like him. Ethan's face turned black as soot. It wasn't until Sienna emerged from the restroom that he asked, "Did you have a nice time in there?" This was the first time Sienna had looked so dejected, unable to meet his eyes. He glanced at her. "Sienna Zhang, look at me." She snapped her head up, her big doll-like eyes blinking at him, sparkling like stars. They mesmerized him, and he tilted his head. "With eyes that big, how could your taste be so bad?" She was so angry she was about to explode. She stood up abruptly. "I've lost my appetite. Take me home." In the car, she glanced at him and noticed he seemed to be in a bad mood too. They drove the rest of the way in silence. As she got out, she muttered, "Heartless capitalist, making me work overtime with no food. I'm going to see my ancestors." Just then, her doorbell rang. She opened the door, drooling, expecting takeout. It was food, but it was wine-flavored shrimp takeout, a deluxe version with added crab roe. Just looking at it made her grin. Little Ethan does have a heart. Meanwhile, a certain someone was waiting for a message from her. Sure enough, his phone lit up. "Thanks for the love, boss. Time to dig in." Ethan put on his glasses and zoomed in on the picture, immediately spotting the cilantro she had picked out. "You don't eat onions either?" She burst out laughing. She hated onions, ginger, and cilantro. She replied with a voice message, My parents don't even nag me about that. What gives you the right? Ethan held his phone to his ear and pressed play. Ethan, do you nag your ex-girlfriends like this too? His face fell. The memory of her ex-boyfriend at the restaurant resurfaced. What? Does your ex-boyfriend not nag you? He replied, angrily tossing his phone aside and downing his wine in one gulp. His phone buzzed again. That's not his business. Ethan wasn't happy, he grunted. But then another voice message came, and his eyes widened. But if my current boyfriend did, I wouldn't mind. He listened to it 3 times on a loop and blushed furiously. Sienna heard that Ethan's company, Cloud Create, needed a report, and she couldn't help but perk up. 2 of her colleagues were vying for the story, and their eagerness frustrated her. But when her rival suddenly conceded the project to her, Sienna was completely baffled. Has she lost his mind? Why would he give up such a great project? She sent a text to Ethan. Ethan, I'm going to be at your company Cloud Create the day after tomorrow. Will you be there? When she saw the 2-word reply, I won't. She felt a pang of disappointment. Fine, she'd have to go it alone. This time she would get the story without his help. At his subsidiary, they kept her waiting for an hour. Hours later, the sun had set and her reporting was going nowhere. Finally, out of options, she sent him a little jab. The coffee at your company is pretty good, but I'm about to throw up. The subtext was clear. You seem to enjoy making people wait, don't you? Ethan exited the chat. Sienna went up to the front desk, exasperated. Excuse me, when will Mr. Q be here? Soon, a secretary emerged from the elevator. Excuse me, who is Miss Sienna Jung? Sienna turned, and the secretary enthusiastically led her to a meeting room. By the time she finished the interview, it was already evening. As the vice president arranged a car for her, as soon as she stepped out the door, she ran into her ex-boyfriend's girlfriend. She had heard that the other woman was a pampered young lady, and that Ethan treated his own niece well. Meanwhile, on the top floor, Ethan made a call, and the other woman received her due punishment. After her interview, he deliberately left, scrolling through the 3 messages she had sent him. The next second, he opened his door just in time to see her standing there. Well, what a coincidence. She half joked, half tilted her head. Mr. Shy, I thought you weren't going to be here today. Ethan burst out laughing. What a coincidence indeed. So coincidental that in this entire building someone just happens to knock on my door. After 300 rounds of back and forth, Ethan finally got to hold her. But all the lovesick CEO could do was drag her out for hot pot. Sienna was enthusiastically ordering from the menu. This tripe looks so smooth, I want a lot of it. After ordering the 30th dish, she finally asked, So, what are you having? Whatever, he replied, which immediately set her off. So you want cilantro, and onions and ginger and garlic? He was powerless against her and just waited for the filter queen to despice the boiling hot pot. He snuck a glance at her, as she was beautifully cooking the food. Looking at a steamy leaf, he had the wicked thought that she looked good enough to eat. His heart was filled with amusement, and he was lost in a dream for a full minute and a half. His gaze unsteady, not at all like a proper gentleman. Just then, she handed him the dipping sauce she had mixed. Ethan, she called, bringing him back to reality. He replied with a laugh. Suddenly, his phone rang. It was Luna screaming, Help me! I'm getting scammed by an old man over a parallel parking incident. He just kicked his legs, closed his eyes, and played dead. I'm so unlucky. Sienna, an avid spectator of drama, couldn't help but exclaim, Karma finally caught up with her. But if Ethan left, wouldn't she be all alone? Ethan, you should go check on her. After all, from the interview at the estate to you holding up my draft, I'm the one who's always waiting for you. After venting her long-held frustrations, she forced a smile. Please be careful, Mr. Shi. I'm willing to wait for you for as long as it takes. She was on the verge of tears, begging him not to go. The trust they had built was so fragile, and now she would have to start all over again. The next second, she looked like a crying kitten. A smile played on his lips, and he put down his phone, looking like he didn't want to leave either. Sienna Zheng, you really are an Oscar-worthy actress. She exploded. Go eat some pig brains to wash your mouth out. Back at the office, Sienna saw Luna looking glum. You've been late 8 times this month. Don't you want to pass your internship? But Luna just snapped. Don't even mention it. I was in a car accident last night. The police were there until 2 in the morning. Sienna rushed over, concerned. Whatever happens, you should have let me know and taken the day off. Did your parents come to help? My parents are abroad and my uncle is busy with his love life. Hearing this, Sienna erupted. What kind of uncle is that? Nothing is more important than his niece. In ancient times, she'd be the kind of bewitching siren who leads a king to ruin his country. But a single message from Ethan had her instantly morphing into that very siren. When she saw he was going to the US, her mood soured. She wanted to ask when he'd be back, but he just sent 3 question marks. So she started spamming him 3 times a day. Miss you, miss you, miss you! She told him to look at the little stars. As he was boarding the plane, he looked like a statue waiting for his wife. Seeing her 2 ambiguous miss you messages, his smile stretched from ear to ear. A few days later, at a charity dinner in the US, Ethan felt restless. He stepped out onto the balcony and looked up at the starry sky. So many Siennas, all seeming to ask when I'll be back. He was just too far away from her now. The third day, he unexpectedly showed up at her apartment complex. The silly girl thought she was hallucinating and was about to go hang out with her college friends. But her friend saw her Prince Charming and shoved her clothes at her. The CEO who's chasing you just showed up at your door. Sienna ran over as usual. What are you doing here? Sure enough, Ethan's intentions were clear to everyone. Just a little something for the Oscar-worthy actress. This stoic man was too good. It was a pair of high heels to replace the ones she had broken at the concert. Sienna realized he was surprisingly attentive, but now he was reluctant to leave. It's a shame you didn't say your friend was coming sooner. Sienna, still in a daze, finally realized. So he came back early for me? In that moment, she felt like she had fallen into a pot of honey. She kept blowing him kisses from behind. Ethan at the wheel was completely smitten, his gaze lost in her reflection. A picture of his 18-year-old love on New Year's Eve was enough to cure the stubborn Ethan, and he finally took action. But Sienna was fuming. She had just taken her friend Brianna's advice to play hard to get, to make the neglectful pig miss her. But after 3 hours, her post had 100 likes, and not a single one was from him. Sienna knew that tactic wouldn't work on Ethan. As the countdown to the new year began, she bravely sent out a mass greeting. She sent a Happy New Year, and he replied instantly. But after a while, she felt like she wasn't making any headway. Every word she typed was carefully chosen. Ethan was clearly dying of anticipation. He had even canceled his trip to the US to spend New Year's with her. Brianna laughed. Before he could even make a move, I snatched you away. Just as Sienna was about to type her next message, Brianna told her to end the conversation. Don't let him get a hold on you. Sienna had never seen this tactic before. What kind of adult says they're going to bed at midnight on New Year's Eve? That's how you keep a man wrapped around your finger, Brianna said. Sienna was helpless but decided to follow her friend's advice. Would you believe me if I said I was going to sleep? But a minute after she sent it, the silence was broken, and she was instantly mortified. She quickly scrambled for her phone to try and fix it, but she only made things worse. It was clear this was something that would get a reaction out of him, but his aggressive messages made her want to dig a hole and hide. I'm so embarrassed. That jerk Ethan is definitely doing this on purpose. She quickly typed, I already said it's nothing. I was just anticipating what you might think. I'm going to bed. Bye. Meanwhile, Ethan had just gotten out of the shower. He was so worked up, his face flushed. Even though he only picked out the words he wanted to see, Sienna's flirting had him all fired up. He turned and silently went back into the bathroom for 3 more cold showers. After New Year's, Sienna had learned her lesson. She sat at her computer, meticulously checking every word of her work. A message came through quickly. Mr. Guan was inviting her to the horse stables. A year later, she was back at the stables where Ethan had taught her to ride. Brianna bounced over to her. Sienna, I have a bold idea. I've never ridden a horse before. 2 days later, Ethan was at the stables in the suburbs. His friend was there, just like before, bringing him good things. The only change was that Ethan was acting even more arrogant. But his friend's face was full of concern. Ta-da! I went up the mountain and got a few of these. Ethan, pick one. Ethan glanced at them, casually picked one up, and waved it in front of his face. You really believe in this stuff? His friend just wanted some peace of mind. In our line of work, our moods are like a roller coaster. Quick, look at what's carved on the back. Ethan squinted. He hadn't expected to see a wish come true. He then took a laughing Buddha and waved it around, feeling a bit bewitched himself. Whatever you wish for will come true. As he was looking at the wish come true side, he noticed her in the background. His eyes lit up inside and out. Looking at her beautiful face, he wanted to run to her. Wish come true. So this is what a wonderful opportunity feels like. Meanwhile, his friend had already rushed over to Sienna. Hello, beautiful! But a certain someone was still pretending to be reserved. Even Sienna was panicking. If I had known Ethan would be here, I wouldn't have come to the stables to make a fool of myself. But her heart still belonged to him, and she snuck a glance at Ethan, only to see him sitting there, unmoving. She puffed out her cheeks in frustration. Ethan raised an eyebrow in her direction, as stoic as an old dog. Sienna just left him there, and went to chat and laugh with another guy. That was enough to make Ethan unable to sit still. The stables were filled with laughter. Thank you, little brother. It'll be great to have you teach us how to ride. His friend was thrilled. Of course! This made a certain someone so jealous he could have opened a vinegar shop, his eyes growing sharper. You're very free? Sienna was caught by Ethan, and the rival was his own friend. Ethan completely lost his mind. But Sienna acted as if she had nothing to fear. The stables aren't owned by you, right, little brother? Finally, she was silenced by his glare. Believe it or not, with one word, I can make sure you never get in. Sienna was instantly speechless. His friend had to try and smooth things over. Ethan, how can you scare a beautiful woman? Since we're all friends, just make yourselves at home and have fun. But on her end, she misunderstood. Well, we're not really friends. We're not that close, so we can't be too much trouble for you. Just as his friend was about to make a tactful retreat, he followed her to the changing room. As she was struggling with her belt, the thought of Ethan made her mind a mess. But who cares, I'm just annoyed. The moment he heard the word annoyed, he couldn't help but hug her from behind. Unconsciously, his cold body pressed against hers. His breath was so close, and Sienna could only stand there, frozen. With a click, she opened her eyes and saw the gentle hand around her waist. She leaned back, then pushed him away. It's done, thank you. But he grabbed her hands again, holding her tight. Weren't you trying to get my attention just a couple of days ago? A day has passed, and now you have nothing to say? The dead memory suddenly attacked her, and she struggled to push him away, but his height and strength easily overpowered her. Just then, his friend came looking for them. You two, are you done yet? Sienna lowered her head in shame, her body instinctively pressing back against him. A grin spread across his face. Not done. What's the rush? Now was her chance. She pinched his thigh. That pinch completely undid him. He lifted her up, his mind in a state of chaos. But Sienna just stood there, dazed, and took a deep breath, getting angry. That's when he stopped teasing her. But her heart was still pounding like crazy. If I sleep with you, will you be responsible? That finally got him hooked. He thought teasing her would make her back down, but she just jolted. Her beautiful eyes filled with his reflection. His gaze on her lips grew more intense, and the hand on her waist pulled her closer, any remaining shred of sanity crumbling. His other hand cupped the back of her head, and he leaned in. Sienna was so scared she yelped. Your watch is so cold! Snapped him out of it. He put her down, and the playful girl's face began to burn. After adjusting his tie, he ran out. But her fallen look, her crazy heart, he was so close to kissing her. It wasn't until Sienna smoothed down her clothes and walked to the riding arena, her hair a mess, that she started complaining. Ethan's temper is so bad, but his gentlemanly scent was still pleasant. But when he led a horse over and stood waiting for her, she had a change of heart and started to run. Suddenly not so pleasant, better escape. Her friend frantically tried to signal her, but she was caught by Ethan. Sienna Jing, get on the horse. She was so scared she practically knelt, not daring to argue. He held out the reins. Are you going to get on yourself, or do I have to help you? That made her immediately back down, asking to be lifted up like a princess. But he just closed his eyes and ignored her. Still, as she stumbled onto the horse, he reached out and supported her leg. As she was still in a daze, his other hand gave her a boost, and she was steadily on the horse. She was so touched she thought she was hallucinating. But Ethan was already smitten, looking up at her and baring his heart. If you want to learn to ride, just come to me next time. And stop flirting with everyone. I'm not a saint. The impossibly beautiful Sienna couldn't believe it. Did he just smile? Did he actually smile at me like that? After the New Year's holiday, Sienna was under immense pressure. Her good mood was shattered by the word marriage. Her mother's calls about blind dates were a relentless assault. She answered the phone and immediately started formulating a plan. Yee, when are you coming home for the new year? Our principal's son is back from studying abroad. Sienna closed her eyes and went for the preemptive strike. Mom, I'm busy. I have a boyfriend. If I go on a blind date, he'll get angry. But the more she tried to brush it off, the more her mother insisted. Stop saying you have a boyfriend. If you do, bring him home for the new year. This pushed Sienna to the edge. She remembered a photo from a press conference and sent a picture of the handsome, imposing man to her mother. Look, this is your son-in-law, 27, his family owns a bank. But her mother countered with a picture of a popular idol. This is your new stepfather. Sienna was out of options. The next day, she obediently went to meet the blind date. Mr. Yu, sorry I'm late. The man was ordering. So Sienna just lowered her head and played with her phone. She had nothing to say. And as the awkwardness grew, she scrolled to the picture of Ethan she had saved yesterday. They're both wearing glasses, but their auras are completely different. As she was comparing the picture of Ethan to her blind date, he spoke. I was forced to come here by my family. Sienna breathed a sigh of relief, instantly relaxing. I'm only 25, I'm not at the age for blind dates. The man beside her agreed, saying he had no intention of settling down and was going to the US for a study tour after the new year. We'll just tell our families we're better off as friends. Sienna wholeheartedly agreed. As she was leaving, he suddenly called out to her, Miss Jung, you probably don't lack for suitors. So I was thinking, could it be that you have someone impossible in your heart? His words stunned her. Looking at the warm, sun-drenched maple trees across the street, she thought of that impossible person, of him. But there was no future for them. Still, she inexplicably looked across the street and saw Ethan, his eyes dark with exhaustion, standing there watching her. Realizing what was happening, she started to back away. Did he see everything? If I run now, will it look like I'm guilty? Ethan, worried his exhausted state would scare her, quickly sent a text, don't move. When the light turned green, he put his phone away and walked across the street. catching up to her at the bustling corner. The guilt on her face was even more pronounced. He walked up to her, and she was about to say, "That thing with Owen was just an act, I was forced into it." Looking at him, she realized their relationship hadn't reached that point. Don't be fooled by his tired sigh. Inside, he was dying of embarrassment, his pride gone. He lifted his hand, wrapped a scarf around her neck, and pulled her into his arms. She went on a blind date, and he was still sitting calmly at home. But his grandfather had noticed something. "Ethan, I hear you've been seeing an actress lately?" Ethan, still immersed in her writing, started to act. She just has a strong desire to perform. But she's a decent girl. Just then, Luna bounced in to get the gossip. "Grandpa, I came to see you." The old man's face lit up. "Luna is the best. Not going out with your boss anymore?" "Sienna went on a blind date," Luna blurted out. The words hung in the air, and Ethan's face instantly turned to ice. But it just made his grandfather laugh. "She's already going on blind dates, and you can't even graduate." Ethan, who had been listening from the side, couldn't sit still anymore. He came over and gave Luna a light tap. "You're being nosy." 2 hours later, Ethan had caught up to his little darling and was out of breath, still holding her, his face grim. "Stay with me." She was scared and tried to pull away. "Stay for what? I'm busy." He was about to lose his temper, blocking her way as if demanding an explanation. Busy with blind dates? But Sienna didn't feel there was anything to explain, and her voice grew smaller as she tried to avoid him. "That was my mom's boss's son. We even took calligraphy classes together as kids." Seeing him get closer, she stopped being scared and grabbed his arm. "Ethan, don't you believe me?" Then she took a small step back. "Ethan, are you angry?" But his tail was already wagging, and his mouth was still stubborn. Amidst her sweet cooing, he finally gave in. She just had to look up at him with her big doll-like eyes, and he was completely disarmed, gently pulling her close. "A little fox is just after money or affection. If it's money, I have plenty. If it's affection, who knows who's getting the better deal." Seeing Ethan smile foolishly, already thinking of names for their children, Sienna felt a little creeped out. His hand gently brushed her ear, his eyes full of a dangerous glint. "Since you're so free, why can't you stay with me?" Sienna was speechless again. She had definitely overdone it this time. As angry as Ethan was, he was also just trying to appease himself. "What's the status of the Cloud Create IP? Come to Cloud Create tomorrow and work overtime." The next morning, Sienna obediently reported for duty. Seeing her arrive, Ethan loosened his tie, revealing his tempting Adam's apple, and struck a pose. His little darling kept peeking out, and when he turned his head, she giggled, her red makeup vibrant as she walked in. "Ethan, I'm here to work overtime with you." Little Ethan blushed, completely captivated by her. But compared to his business dealings, this was the prize worth betting on. And for this woman, this Oscar-worthy actress he couldn't figure out, he was willing to risk it all. Under her spell, he smiled and held out his hand. "Come here." This man was finally making his move on Sienna. He had her come in for overtime and assigned her a 3T by file. Sienna was on the verge of tears. "Ethan, you bastard, you really did just call me into work." In the capitalist's den, she didn't dare complain and just started reading. She went through mountain after mountain of files, but there was no end in sight. She was exhausted, dizzy, and seeing stars. She took a break and snuck a peek at Ethan. So much time had passed, and he was still sitting there, occasionally tapping his keyboard. Was he playing Minesweeper behind that screen? But as she got more and more engrossed, he caught her staring. He raised an eyebrow and asked. Caught in the act, she quickly went back to work. "No," but he saw right through her. "Then why do you keep looking at me?" She dropped the act, looked him straight in the eye, and boldly admitted, "What's wrong with looking at you? If you weren't looking at me, how would you know I was looking at you?" The next second, she smirked playfully. "It's because you're so delicious, Mr. She, I just have to look." Then she proudly lifted her chin and went back to work. His eyes darkened. He hadn't expected this little fox to dare to play with fire, to call him delicious. A burning sensation spread through his chest. He put down his work and sat down next to her. Sienna jumped, her heart pounding like crazy. Why did he suddenly come over here? He closed his eyes, slowly took off his glasses, and then turned, transforming into a preening peacock. It rendered her speechless. "I've looked," but he wrapped his arm around her neck, pulling her into his arms in an instant, and said with squinting eyes, "You look and then you hide? You're not going to let me look back?" The sudden move made her face flush. "I'm afraid you'll get addicted to my beauty and won't be able to pull yourself away." He was once again amused and ruffled her hair. "I'm addicted? What are you afraid of?" He squinted at her. "Afraid I'll eat you?" Her brain short-circuited, and her next words were an automatic reply. "Wow, I'm so excited, Mr. Shy." He pinched her soft pink cheek. "Have you no shame?" She couldn't take it anymore and stood up to leave. "You're so annoying!" But she was a step too slow. He was taller and longer-limbed, and he easily pulled her onto his lap. "What I said. Did you hear?" She became obedient. I heard. You told me to come work overtime, so I came. He twirled a strand of her hair. Oh, well, I'm actually a little hungry now. Seeing his predatory look, she panicked. Is this moving too fast? Is this a CEO thing? Office play? But just as he was about to make his next move, she tried to pry his hands off, but she couldn't. With a small grunt, she made him blush. Mr. Shy, it's broad daylight and we're in the office. This isn't very appropriate, is it? He had already lifted her up and settled her on his lap, holding her tight. What's not appropriate? Who said you can't do it in the office during the day? He then buried his face in her shoulder and murmured, It's because reporter Jung is so delicious. She was so scared she was seeing double, and she was on the verge of screaming, when she forcefully pushed him away. Oh God, my own words came back to bite me. This pervert Ethan is the worst. Ethan's heart-stopping moment has arrived. When the proud Ethan turned bad to the bone, pressing against Sienna, she was dying of embarrassment. After her half-hearted resistance, she realized he was just enjoying her cute expression. But as his advances brought their noses together, a flustered Sienna covered his mouth. If you keep talking like that, I'm going to have an urgent need to go to the restroom. But he just held her waist tighter, questioning her softly. So you have that kind of fetish? Sienna knew she was no match for him and started pushing frantically. Ethan, you bastard, stop talking about office play and let me go, to the restroom. He closed his eyes, a smile playing on his lips. He then stood up, set the little fox down, and took a step back. What were you thinking? Pack up your things and go eat at that table. Sienna saw the food and was stunned. He paused. Does your company not allow eating in the office during the day? Do you prefer to eat in the restroom? That shut her up completely. So it was about the office, not play? That jerk, Ethan, I never realized he was this bad. Looking at the 6 dishes and 1 soup, she started inhaling her food like a storm. This was high-energy fuel, and she needed to replenish her brain power and stamina to face him again. But as she ate with gusto, small food baby popped out, which made him stare for a moment, and then smile indulgently. He turned away. I'm going to a meeting. Do you usually have dessert after your meal? The moment she said yes, he hummed, Are little cakes okay? Sienna was speechless. Mortified again, she had lost another round. Unsure of her next move, Sienna messaged her college strategist, Brianna. I think I've strayed from the auntie path and am heading straight for Crazy Town. But her friend replied instantly, Did you sleep together? Sienna quickly tried to cover her tracks, writing a long, exaggerated story, keeping the key details vague. Full and satisfied, she started to feel sleepy. That evening, Ethan finished his meeting and opened his office door with his executives in tow, only to find Sienna napping on the sofa. He blocked the door, his eyes turning cold. We'll continue in 2 hours. He then gently closed the door, leaving his executives stunned outside. He walked over to her and crouched down, noticing she was sleeping with her legs crossed, and her hair trapped underneath her. She's going to get a stiff neck like that. He gently lifted her head to free her hair. In her sleep, she mumbled, Ethan, you jerk. You tricked me. You're bad. He tried to pull his hand away, but accidentally brushed against her soft skin. His heart pounded and he looked away. Mortified, he was completely smitten. Don't move, just lie down. Just then, she turned her head and consciously pushed him away. I don't want to be friends. Sienna suddenly rolled over and he lurched forward, their 2 hearts colliding. He was completely undone. Looking at her soft pink lips, her fluttering eyelashes were so tempting. But the disciplined Ethan just put his coat on her and sat down. He crossed his legs, feeling like he was going crazy, and just tried to endure it. Sienna Zheng, I guess I walked right into this trap. Ethan, being a normal man, went to the restroom to splash some water on his face and cool down. When she woke up with a start, it was already evening. A message from her strategist came through. Just for his looks, it's not a loss. I'm rooting for you to marry into a rich family and hit the jackpot. Sienna paused the voice message and looked around for him. Suddenly, he turned on a light in the corner, and she was instantly illuminated. He walked over, his face still wet. You're awake? Sienna started to sweat. Did he hear that voice message? What are you doing here? He slowly put on his glasses. This is my office, not yours. She was terrified. You just... He looked straight into her eyes. Washed my hands, what's wrong? She breathed a sigh of relief. He irritably pulled off his tie. Little did she know, he had heard everything, and was now thinking of letting her seduce him. He lowered his eyes and dangled a carrot in front of her. Next Friday, the Krent Summit is being held in Fucheng. Are you going? Her eyes lit up. The one that brings together all the industry giants, the annual major event? The one that only TV journalists have access to? But her face fell the next second. I want to go, but I don't have a press pass. He smiled, pulled over a chair, and sat down like a preening peacock. You do now. I'll take you. You'll be with me the whole time. Come on, woman, I'm giving you a chance to seduce me. Just hearing with me the whole time was enough to make her swoon. His eyes darkened. That includes room and board. She nodded eagerly. Okay, I'll go with you. He watched her every smile, his gaze fixed on her lips. You're after me, aren't you? Woman, let me see your eyes. The next day, she took 3 days off in advance, packed her bags, and waited for him downstairs. Just as she was about to get into the Rolls-Royce, her ex-boyfriend suddenly appeared and called out to her. She wanted to turn and walk away in disgust, but he grabbed her. He started lecturing her. Even if we broke up, you can't be getting involved with a married man. Mr. Q has a wife, you can't. She found it laughable. Do you think everyone has the same hobbies as you? Before you come and lecture me, scumbag, why don't you clean up your own act first? She angrily pulled her suitcase toward the Rolls-Royce. Get lost. He's waiting for me. I don't have time to waste on you. Seeing the custom license plate, her ex-boyfriend was thunderstruck. But Sienna just said it in a domineering way. We're a perfect match, a handsome man and a beautiful woman. Do we need your approval? But you should prepare yourself. Sooner or later, you're going to have to call me auntie. Her ex-boyfriend was about to burst with anger. Sienna Zheng, are you getting revenge on me? As she got into the Rolls-Royce, she knew that this had all started as revenge. But now, the word revenge sounded so harsh. Once something starts, it's not easy to stop. At first, she thought she could just create chaos and then walk away satisfied. But now she was caught in her own web, trapped by this man. After following Ethan to Fucheng, Sienna was left hungry all night. She furiously took out her phone and bombarded him with messages. He was the one who said he'd cover room and board, but I've been in this hotel all night without even a glimpse of him. When Ethan opened his phone and saw her messages, she launched another full-scale attack. Someone is feasting on a grand banquet, while someone else is abandoned in a strange city, starving, and has to hunt for her own food. Seeing this, Ethan's eyes widened. Busy, he replied. Then he downed his wine, stood up, and left his business partner to go find his little darling. His partner teased him. You even bring a beautiful woman on a business trip? A huge grin spread across Ethan's face. I can't help it, my little kitten is too clingy. She's waiting for me to eat. Meanwhile, Sienna had found a food street near the hotel. As she sat down, she fumed. I waited for him in the hotel for over an hour, and all he could say was busy. Just then, an anxious Ethan called. The moment she answered, she snapped, What do you want? I'm out having fun. The shop owner asked, Miss, do you want it spicy? Extra spicy and extra cilantro, she yelled, then hung up on him. The next second, hearing the disconnected tone, Ethan panicked. He told the driver to speed up and head to the food street near the hotel. Finally, Sienna got her beef noodle takeout. A few thugs saw she was alone and started whistling. Hey, pretty lady, all by yourself? Come have a drink with us. Sienna pretended not to hear and dialed a number. But the thugs surrounded her, trying to add her on WeChat. Just as she was telling Ethan the name of the barbecue shop, one of them snatched her phone. Seeing they wouldn't back down until they got her WeChat, and being in a strange place, she decided to play along for her own safety. She took out her phone to scan the code, but they started getting handsy. She backed away in fear, but they all stood up and closed in on her, trying to drag her to a KTV. She realized with horror that even the shop owner was too scared to intervene. She knew that if she refused, they would get angry. Suddenly, one of them made a move, wrapping his arm around her waist. Terrified, she swung her bag and hit him in the face. But now she was trapped. Just as a fist was about to fly, Ethan's assistant arrived and stopped it. Holding up a phone with the video recording, The police have been called. None of you are getting away. That scared them witless. Just then, a Rolls-Royce pulled up, and as the window rolled down, a figure stepped out and called to her, Sienna Zheng! The thugs all backed away, and Sienna was stunned. A moment later, a wave of relief washed over her, and she ran toward him. He forgot to breathe, reaching out and pulling her into his arms. She was still trembling in his embrace, clutching his suit tightly. Holding his little darling, Ethan's heart ached, and his eyes were as dark as daggers, ready to tear those thugs apart. In his arms, Sienna realized she was in an awkward position. He held her skirt down, not planning on letting her go. He was still breathing heavily as he yelled at her, It's freezing and you're wearing such a short skirt. Don't you know how much attention that draws? She felt wronged. But I was so hungry. She buried her face in his chest like a pillow. You yell at me, but you don't comfort me. I just wanted to look pretty for you. His eyes went wide. She continued to squirm in his arms, whining, If you had just replied to my message sooner, this wouldn't have happened. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He patted her back soothingly. Okay. Sienna started to calm down, enjoying the woody floral scent on him. She pressed her face against his shoulder, her fingertips tracing his white collar. Ethan, she whispered, did I manage to attract you? Without thinking, he tilted her chin up. Why don't you feel it and see? That's when she saw his clearly defined lips. He leaned in, and their lips touched lightly, again and again. She lifted her shy face and smelled the alcohol on his breath. Ethan, she murmured. The driver in the front suddenly realized he should be invisible. Ethan raised the partition, then let her go, crossing his legs and leaving her on the other side of the seat. She was still in a daze, and he knew it wasn't the right time. He tossed her a coat, and got out of the car. She followed, wrapping the coat around herself and trotting to keep up. She looked at the man who was so close yet so out of reach. The night's events felt as unreal as a dream, just like everything that had happened since she met him. He turned and looked at the lonely little kitten. Lost in thought again? He came back and took her hand. Holding his warm, real hand, she felt a sense of relief. Thank God he's here. Just then, he took a call. The thugs who had harassed her had been sent to prison for life. Sienna was eating a strawberry, overjoyed. She was about to praise him for being so amazing. When he questioned her, "The elevator is here. What are you daydreaming about now?" She used the opportunity to get closer. That kiss just now, was it because of the alcohol? But it was too fast. His face darkened and he took off his gloves without a word. But Sienna, sensing the mood, decided to tease him. "Can I apply for a retest?" The moment the elevator doors closed, he scooped her up by the waist and kissed her again. The strawberry fell from her hand as he kissed her passionately. But she got scared and tried to push him away, surrendering, which only made the insatiable Ethan grab her hands, gently brush her nose with his, and then pull her back by her waist for another forceful kiss. Just then, someone pressed the elevator button. It startled her, and her legs gave out. Ethan, who had taken off his glasses, made her look at him. "Do you feel it now?" After her retest with Ethan, Sienna huffed and pushed him away. "It tastes like strawberry wine." Then she scurried away. "I'm going back to sleep." The next second, she looked around and felt like she was in a different world. Ethan followed her closely. "I live on this floor." Her face turned beet red. Remembering his bad behavior earlier, she ran off. "You're so annoying." She ran to the elevator, her heart still fluttering. Back in his room, Ethan sat on the sofa, crossing his legs smugly. But the memory of her soft lips made his mouth go dry. He traced the lipstick stain on his own lips, on the verge of losing his mind. The next day, he seemed a little more human. When he glanced at her, she sat primly in the Rolls-Royce and smiled. "Good morning, driver." Unsure of what persona she was playing today, she opened a group chat with her fellow reporters and pretended to be on her phone. "I can't let one kiss throw me off my game. I have to be the one in control of this relationship." Little did she know, the voice message from a male reporter she was listening to was connected to the car's Bluetooth. "Didn't you say you were going to the Fucheng conference with your dad?" Making the driver once again wish he were invisible. Ethan's silence was deafening. He raised the partition again. After the voice message finished, Sienna's world came crashing down. Ethan questioned her. "Going out with Dad? Am I that shameful?" Her attempts to explain only made things worse. He closed his eyes as if understanding. "So you have that kind of preference?" Sienna sensed danger. She saw him nodding repeatedly, his words crazed. "So you like to call me Daddy?" She wanted to dig a hole and hide. She'd better behave, or he really would make her call him that. The financial conference officially began, and they walked in one after the other, becoming the center of attention. Sienna was so happy she hummed a little tune as she went up to the second floor and took the best seat. Sitting in the front row like a fox borrowing a tiger's mite, she was completely captivated by the gathering of industry giants. The little kitten was so well behaved that Ethan wasn't used to it. A few hours later, she started fidgeting, curling into a ball. As her period cramps hit, she anxiously tugged at the tablecloth and a warm hand covered hers. "You've been fidgeting this whole time. What's wrong?" The pain was getting worse. She bit her lip as another wave hit. She gripped his sleeve, her voice trembling. "After this session, I want to go back to the hotel." He worriedly checked her forehead. "No fever, but you're sweating." He even brought her legs together and asked coaxingly, "What's wrong?" She just couldn't bring herself to say it. "Last night was too intense. It made my period come early." The moment he realized she was in pain, Ethan wanted to leave the conference and go back to the hotel to take care of her, but a business partner invited them to dinner. Ethan smiled and declined. "She's very delicate. She's not feeling well, so she probably can't make it." Just then, his assistant whispered in his ear, "Mr. Shai, the hotel front desk just called. Miss Jung's painkillers have been left at her room door." Meanwhile, the little kitten was writhing in pain on the bed, whimpering. The more she tried to sleep, the worse it got, and she couldn't get up to get the painkillers at the door. She fumbled around and felt a warm hand and a cool phone. She was about to say thank you when her eyes flew open. She turned over and saw him crouching by her bed. "Then what are you doing here? You scared me to death." He wiped his hands with a white towel. "Check your phone." "If I hadn't come in, were you just going to let yourself waste away?" Her head was spinning, and a sharp pain shot through her stomach. She shakily sat up. He poured a single ibuprofen into his palm, glanced at the instructions for her size. One should be enough, and brought the pill to her lips, gently tilting her chin to help her take it. As he pulled his hand away, he was lost in thought, remembering the soft touch from the other night. Sienna, still dazed, murmured, "Ethan, water." His throat tightened. He watched her gulp down the water, his conscience telling him he couldn't take advantage of her. He had to have some self-control. He took the glass from her. "You still haven't told me?" Is it a stomach ache, a headache, or something else? His words made her so embarrassed she burrowed under the covers. Thank you. Ugh, it's just period cramps. Even then, his words were sharp, but his heart was soft. Tomorrow, you'll go out in a short skirt and short sleeves again. He sighed, took out a handkerchief, and wiped the sweat from her forehead. But you don't look good if you don't wear a skirt, he said tenderly. Hearing this, her pain instantly vanished. She slowly snuggled into his arms. Then comfort me a little more and it won't hurt anymore. He saw her playful side and stroked her hair. How do you want me to comfort you? This delighted her, and she decided to teach the clueless man a thing or two. You should say, how can I be seeing an angel before I've even gone to heaven? That made the CEO jump to his feet. She was startled and didn't dare say another word. He walked over to the sofa, took off his jacket, sat down, crossed his legs, and loosened his tie. Just when she thought he wouldn't play along, he covered his mouth, turned his head, his face slightly red, and whispered, Angel. After her cramps subsided, she happily dragged him to his penthouse to watch a movie. She gleefully took a picture and posted it, then saw his comment, It's so late and your dad is still watching movies with you? He had even liked it. Her face flushed, and she looked at him. He put down his phone and looked at her. Watch the movie. Her heart was pounding. Is he silently agreeing to be with me? Is he happy too? Finally, she bravely spoke up. Wow! The back and forth between the main characters at the beginning is so good. Love at first sight, I believe in love again. He crossed his legs. That scene was the heroine's imagination. The male lead is dead. She was instantly embarrassed. She took out her phone, checked the movie reviews, and confirmed she hadn't chosen the wrong film. It was like a revelation. I didn't choose the wrong one. That made him laugh. The little kitten was furious. Ethan, you tricked me. He's still alive. His laugh made her eyes widen. Is it my imagination? I've been seeing him smile a lot lately. Does that mean he's starting to show me more of himself? She studied him, and after confirming her suspicions, he stroked her hair. Watch the movie, concentrate. She beamed and hummed in agreement, wanting to get closer to him. She slowly shuffled over in her floral dress, and seeing that he didn't object, she leaned her head on his shoulder. Then she took his hand and wrapped it around herself. The little kitten snuggled into his arms. It was a purely instinctive desire to be with him. By the end of the movie, he had seen it for the second time and felt a deep connection to it. And the unknown risks, were they really worth crossing so many barriers and suspicions? Because love at first sight was a combination of visual impact and self-delusion. He had never thought he would find himself in that same fog. All it took was a little initiative from her, and he was eagerly walking toward her. When they first met, he had been attending an event and had fallen for her at first sight. That pure smile had instantly captured his heart. But when he had first reached out to her, she had slipped past him. So he too had been willing to believe in an illusion. He looked at the sweetly sleeping girl in his arms. She was no longer the dream that gave him a headache. He leaned in and kissed her. But then he saw her chapped lips and stopped. He had been too rough last time. He gently stroked her hair. I'll have to be more restrained from now on. He carefully laid her down, covered her with a wool blanket, took out a hairpin, and smoothed her hair, listening to the dialogue of Pride and Prejudice over and over again. After receiving a 100,000 bonus at Finance Weekly, Sienna decided to buy some gifts for her parents before the new year. She got her mother a custom wool scarf and a pair of gold earrings, and her father a watch. She glanced at the women's section, and after some flattering praise from the sales clerk, she impulsively spent 40,000 on a watch for herself. At that moment, her ex-boyfriend's girlfriend appeared. Hearing her ex's name, Sienna glanced over. Just ignore them. She had the two watches wrapped up. The other woman started chattering. If I found a rich boyfriend, I could buy whatever I wanted too. But I couldn't stomach being with a married man with kids. Sienna was paying and her anger flared. She hit them right where it hurt. Let him eat. What can I do? My darling won't let me be idle. He insists on pushing me to come out and buy the latest models. Then she made a graceful exit, but not before whispering a scornful taunt in their ears. A wicked person like you will be dealt with by a wicked person like me. From now on, I'll tear you down every time I see you. Soon, Sienna strode triumphantly out of the mall. But her luck was a bit off today. It was pouring rain, and she didn't have an umbrella. Just then Ethan called. Are you done shopping? Which exit are you at? She looked around. I'm at exit C, the small door next to it. You'll never find it. Wait for me, he said and hung up. She sighed. He's probably just dropping off his niece at the mall and picking me up on the way. She looked up and saw a Rolls-Royce parked in front of her. Ethan got out, holding an umbrella. When she saw him without his glasses, his gaze was so soft that her heart skipped a beat. It was a gentleness that made her feel guilty. After the drama just now, she suddenly realized that their story had begun with a lie. As he walked over and held the umbrella over her, heavy feelings settled in her chest. She knew that their relationship could revert to its original state at any moment. He took her hand, and pulled her close. Are you in a bad mood? She buried her hand in his embrace. I'm going home for the new year, so I won't be able to see you for a few days. I'm not happy. His face flushed slightly and his heart softened. He held her tighter. He had already strayed from his original path, and now there was no turning back. Sienna Zhang, look at me, he said in a deep voice. Do you have to visit every single relative during the new year? It's not that bad, she said with a smile. Just from the 1st to the 3rd. He said, understanding, I'll take you home. He brushed a stray hair from her face, a small smile playing on his lips. As he saw her chapped lips had healed, she tilted her head, gently pressing her cheek against his fingers. She knew that his gentleness was a product of her calculations, a trophy she could easily discard. But now she was savoring it, even if she was the most despicable, most foolish liar. Last night, Sienna was eating sunflower seeds by herself. Seeing her boredom, her mother came to watch the New Year's gala with her. The next moment, she received a call about a classmate's wedding. He told her the wedding was on the 4th, and that her ex-boyfriend and the other woman would also be there. She said it was no big deal. Her mother handed her a piece of orange. Yummy, thanks, Mom, I'm going upstairs. Her mother nudged her father. Our daughter is definitely seeing someone. The two of them tiptoed upstairs. Every night at 9, she would make a call. Hearing her daughter's sweet, coquettish voice, her mother was fuming. Why does she sound like that on the phone? By the time Sienna hung up with Ethan, it was past 10:30. Because of his voice, hearing about her ex-boyfriend no longer bothered her. He had unknowingly become an insignificant part of her life, and there was no point in seeking revenge anymore. Missing him, she opened her contacts and scrolled through their call history. Every night at 9, she would call him. She smiled and tapped his profile picture. She now had more beautiful things to look forward to. She had fallen for him. Not just for his faint smile, his worried frown, or the deep anxiety hidden in his eyes, that seemed to fill with the warmest light in the world when he looked at her. And the slight upturn of his lips, the way his fingers gently touched her cheek, in that moment, she felt like she was the most loved person in the world. That night, he sent a message. Happy New Year's Eve. Her face flushed slightly. Why didn't you just say that on the phone? Seeing her playful side, he sent a voice message. Happy New Year's Eve. Let's leave the unpleasant past behind. She had no agenda. She just wanted to have a real relationship with him. On the 4th day of the new year, Sienna went to the wedding in Yunying. Congratulations on your wedding. I wish you 100 years of happiness. The first waltz began, and the groom led the bride onto the dance floor. Sitting in the audience, Sienna could feel the weight of their love, as if the very air was filled with sweetness. As the music ended, she was like a love-struck fool, imagining herself dancing with Ethan. Then came the bouquet toss. Everyone stood up. The bouquet flew through the air and landed right in her hands. The MC spoke up. Congratulations to this lucky lady. The one who catches the bouquet will be the next to walk down the aisle. So does this beautiful woman have a boyfriend? Sienna immediately thought of Ethan. She gently held the bouquet of tulips, her eyes shining like stars, her happiness as bright as the blooming flowers. I have someone I like right now, she said with a smile. She then struck a few poses, took a picture, and sent it to him. He first saw the fairy who had descended to Earth, then zoomed in on her picture. Is the wedding fun? It's fun and beautiful, she replied. He smiled, crossed his legs, saved her picture, and canceled all his plans. He just wanted to rush to Shili Union to see his little darling. After she caught the bouquet and announced she had someone she liked, her classmates all gathered around asking questions. The campus queen has a boyfriend? We're all curious who he is. He's in the finance circle, she replied shyly. But her ex and the other woman were muttering about her latching onto an old man. You're just highly educated, with a master's from a prestigious overseas university, a high-ranking executive at a listed company, and handsome, but he's a bit old and has a family. But Sienna wasn't one to be pushed around. Are you talking about yourself? The one who ruins relationships, gets involved with other people's partners, and fakes affection to climb the social ladder? That's a much better fit for you than it is for me. I wish you two 100 years of happiness. The other woman was furious. Their constant jabs could no longer hurt her. Sienna, feeling wronged, called Ethan. I'm not happy right now. I ran into some scumbags. His heart ached. Don't stay there. I'm behind you. She turned and saw him in a corner in the distance. He had gotten out of his car and was waving to her. It's not convenient for me to go into your classmate's wedding. Come here, my flower fairy. She hung up, overjoyed. She quickly went to her classmate and said her goodbyes. I'm not staying for dinner. Something came up. I'll apologize to him later. Everyone saw the Rolls Royce and wanted to see the campus queen's boyfriend. As she happily ran toward Ethan with her bouquet, everyone was captivated by his presence. The next second, she threw herself into his arms. Ethan, you're here! She was a little excited. He came to find me. He held his little darling. You can even get bullied at a wedding? You've grown older, but not wiser. She huffed and gently pinched him, then snuggled back into his arms. He looked down at the flower fairy in his arms, a smile playing on his lips. This trip was worth it. But as they were being all lovey-dovey, a crowd gathered around them. Sienna was the first to pull away, embarrassed. Her ex and the other woman also came over. She patted Ethan. Your niece is here too. But the one who called her niece was Ethan's driver. That's when she called out, Uncle? The driver smiled and walked over. Mr. Shy, please excuse her, this is my niece. By the time Sienna reacted, Ethan was still processing it. She bent over, laughing so hard her stomach hurt. So the other woman's uncle is the Rolls-Royce's driver? After the other woman's identity was exposed, Sienna looked at her ex-boyfriend. He dazedly called out, Auntie? Sienna was so shocked her worldview shattered. Who's your auntie? Stop calling people random names. She realized she had also made a mistake, and that she had been wasting her efforts for the past few months. She stepped away from him. But how could he let the beauty he had just won over get away? He thought to himself, I'm her real boyfriend now. Why shouldn't I tear those people's mouths apart? He fixed the scumbag with a death glare, each blink a threat. Bringing your current girlfriend to harass your ex? This man is really something else. Seeing her anxiety, he gently squeezed her hand and pulled her close. Get in the car, I'll take you away. She looked at him in surprise as he opened the car door for her. The driver, seeing his boss's dark mood, knew his job was on the line. Hey, look what you've done! Apologize to Mr. Shy! When everyone heard that Ethan was the CEO of Prestige Bank, the scumbag was so scared he bowed 90 degrees. I'm sorry! But that just made Ethan even more annoyed. His face darkened. The scumbag started trembling. Seeing his grim expression, he tried again, this time to her. Sienna turned her head. The other woman and the scumbag knelt on the ground. I'm sorry, Sienna Zheng. I shouldn't have let Coco spread rumors about you in public. It was my mistake. Miss Zheng, please be the bigger person and forgive my recklessness. Ethan's eyes were icy. He still felt he was getting off too easy. Just then, she squeezed his hand. Ethan, let's just leave it. I'm tired. I want to go back. The fact that she couldn't tell the real uncle from the fake one made her want to cry. He closed his eyes and asked her to explain. Whose auntie were you trying to be? She laughed. I'm so young. What kind of auntie would I be? He got the wrong person. But he wasn't stupid. She tried to change the subject. Okay, why did you suddenly come here? He turned his head, his eyes full of her. I came to see the stars. She remembered their chat history and blushed, feeling guilty. The air quality here isn't very good. You probably can't see the stars. She then took a call. Hearing that Luna was inviting her to a hot spring, she grabbed onto the lifeline. Ethan, I have plans to go to a hot spring with a friend today. You wouldn't want me to bail on my friend, would you? He was furious. Are you avoiding me? Are you going on a blind date? After a moment, she managed to placate him and had him drop her off in a forest. Watching her slip away, he felt so dejected he was on the verge of tears. Last night she was so sweet to me. Just now she was hugging me, and now she's like a frightened bird, avoiding me at all costs. Does that man still have such a hold on her emotions? Has she not let him go? Meanwhile, Sienna's mind was also in a mess. Even though she had expected the worst, the even more absurd truth was still a shock. She didn't know how to face it, how to find a reason that made sense to herself. The only thing she could do was run, but she knew that deep down, she felt a sense of relief that transcended morality. She looked back reluctantly. That glance was what he saw. They made eye contact, and she was even more relieved. One mistake after another. That's how they had ended up together. She ran back to him, her heart full of joy. The process was absurd, but I shouldn't be avoiding him. He got out of the car and hugged her. She made a date with him in Chang'an. Tonight we'll have grouper. She believed that she had never chosen the wrong person, and she held onto him tightly. When Sienna and Luna met at the hot spring resort, Luna saw her uncle's social media post about being in Chang'an. Her uncle, who never got close to women, was in Chang'an. Who else was there? Sherlock Luna immediately thought of the beautiful Sienna Zheng. Her sixth sense was tingling, but she wasn't satisfied. She decided to test Sienna. Sienna, how are things going with that uncle you're chasing? Sienna was still processing everything, and Luna knew she was on the right track. She playfully nudged Sienna. Sienna, let me introduce you to my handsome, rich uncle. No, no, Sienna said, terrified. They looked at the sunset, so beautiful that the two of them couldn't help but take a few pictures. Luna edited the pictures and then sent them to her uncle with a mischievous smile. Her uncle didn't reply. So Luna, full of energy again, pretended to go get some food to lure him over. Sienna's face was flushed from the heat and she smiled. Maybe she should call him and ask him to dinner tonight. Just then, Luna's voice rang out. Uncle, what are you doing here? Sienna looked up and saw him standing on the second floor staring at her, his eyes darkening, as he took in her beauty. He started to walk downstairs, and she was so scared she pulled her wrap tighter, her mind screaming, Ethan is Luna's uncle. He had already reached the bottom of the stairs, and she started to back away thinking, I'm so screwed. Seeing her trying to escape, He strode forward and cornered her. What's this about you being heartbroken? Sienna avoided his gaze, and Luna tried to smooth things over. Uncle, I was just chatting with Sienna. It's a misunderstanding. But no one replied. Luna, thrilled to have gotten the gossip, slipped away. I'm going to get my nails done, bye. Sienna pushed him away, saying she was still wet and he shouldn't get too close. He took off his wet jacket, tossed it on the sofa, rolled up his sleeves, and loosened his tie, ready to get to the bottom of things. But she just whispered his name, Ethan, and he pressed closer, hugging her, unable to hide his shy expression. Come on, tell me, how did I break your heart? As the saying goes, when a CEO gets jealous, the consequences are severe. Ethan perfectly demonstrated this. He interrogated Sienna relentlessly, and since she couldn't tell him the truth, she just tried to appease him. Hearing her clumsy excuse, he blushed like a beet and buried his face in her embrace. She had to soothe him, not only dismissing the heartbreak, but also stroking his hot lion-like hair. But he wasn't falling for it. He stepped closer. You little liar! You say it with such sincerity? Do you really like me that much? As their noses brushed, she turned her head. I'm just a very petty person, so what happened today? I need some time to process it. Suddenly, he cupped the back of her head, his voice firm. Just answer me. He saw her pushing him away, but he pressed closer to her shoulder. How much do you like me? The thought of her ex-boyfriend made him press closer to her ear. Quick, tell me! She pushed against his throat, startled, but he just held her tighter, his steps forcing her back, until she was unsteady, and had to wrap her arms around his neck, her face red. I do like you. He looked at his flustered little darling and felt it wasn't enough. He held her tighter, leaning down. And compared to your ex-boyfriend? She was terrified, his questioning gaze getting closer and closer. Do you like him more, or do you like me more? She was shorter, and he had her completely pinned against the table. It seemed less like he was questioning her and more like he was trying to tempt himself to get the answer he wanted. Her face was flushed, and her eyes were filled with him. You, I like you! He smirked and wrapped himself around her, his voice demanding. I want you to only like me. When will you only like me? His repeated questioning made her feel guilty. She was about to push him away when her wrap slipped off. Before she could pull it back up, he cupped her face and kissed her. But just as he was about to ask why she hadn't answered, her phone started buzzing. She scrambled to answer it. Yee, it's getting late. When are you coming home? There are bad people out on the streets during the new year. Come home early, Mom will leave the door unlocked for you. He had already straightened his clothes. Pack up, I'll take you home. Seeing his gentlemanly demeanor, she was surprised that the man who had been so aggressive just a moment ago would care about what her parents thought. He then asked, Are you only planning on having grouper tomorrow? She nodded dumbly. What? He was so angry he threw his jacket down, pouting. I came to Chingun for you. That made her laugh. He looked a little wronged. She took his hand. Okay. I'll take you to the aquarium to see the fish. My parents used to take me there when I was little. That made him a little happy. He squeezed her hand. Okay, I'll listen to you. We'll go to the aquarium together tomorrow. Let's let the aquarium be the starting point. Let's start over. After taking her home, he went to a bar by himself. The memory of her, beautiful as a lotus emerging from the water, made his throat tighten. Now drinking, he gulped down his drink. The thought of her pouting face made him laugh like a fool. In the time they had been together, he had never thought of skipping steps. At the stables, he had already fallen for her. In the car, he had gotten closer to her. And when he had pulled her into his arms and she hadn't resisted, he had already considered her his girlfriend. But today, he realized that she might not see it that way. He thought, my eyes are only for her. But when she looks at me, there's hesitation and concern. Emotions I can't read. He wasn't good at understanding people's feelings, but he would learn, slowly. But he didn't want to wait. Tomorrow. All the rituals I've missed, I'll make up for them. Every time I see her, I'll leave a mark on her heart. In other words, he had completely turned into a statue waiting for his wife. Looking at the beautiful city lights, his mind, his eyes, his heart were filled with her clean, pure smile. The images flashed through his mind like a slideshow. The elegant woman he first met. Every glance, every silhouette that ran toward him. He was completely lost in thought. If only she were here with me right now. But he was alone, and a look of longing crossed his face. After leaving the bar, thinking about his confession, he decided he didn't need to get revenge on the scumbag anymore. But his driver was waiting for him. Mr. Shi, I want to apologize for my niece's actions. She has already broken up with that man, and I'll have her formally apologize to Miss Jung. His face darkened. Apologize and let her get back together with her ex-boyfriend? The driver was terrified. That ex-boyfriend is no good. He just wants to take a shortcut to success. He thought you were his girlfriend's uncle and broke up with Miss Jung to get on your good side. It was a close call for Miss Jung. Ethan was suddenly quiet. I'm going to take a walk, you can go. The driver was left standing there, stunned. Ethan walked slowly. His head bowed, trying to comfort himself. Maybe it's just a coincidence. It was just one person's side of the story. Should he doubt Sienna over one stupid remark? After all, he could see through her clumsy acting. But the affectionate looks in her eyes couldn't be fake. Thinking of the terrible consequences, he looked up at the sky, trying to convince himself, the things she said, there must be some truth to them. He stood on the dim street, unable to shake his unease, and called his niece. Uncle, you have to be good to Sienna. Our family's perfect uncle can't be like those scumbags and break her heart. But he asked her, what did you mean before when you said take advantage of her vulnerability? Is there someone else in her heart? Luna was startled and without thinking told him the truth. And that's when he truly believed that Sienna had only gotten close to him to get revenge on her ex, and his heart shattered. He wandered miserably through the bustling city, his genuine affection a joke. He remembered all the times she had chased after him. Mr. Shy, do you have a girlfriend? Can I pursue you? Mr. Shy, I can't walk. Carry me. Ethan, you promised you'd have dinner with me. Sienna knows not the distance to River City, but little Ethan's eyes have worn thin with waiting. And the moment she ran to him, it all felt like a dream. He had considered it. Even the worst-case scenario, he could ignore it all. He had gambled no matter what her motives were. As long as she was there, he would stay by her side. But he had never imagined that he was just a tool for her to show off to another man. Every sweet thing she said to him was just a taunt to another man. He realized his dream was over. Between them, it was just his one-sided wishful thinking. What she brought was, in the end, just an illusion. His eyes red with unshed tears, he turned away, unable to hide his sorrow. You did it for him, but what about me? Meanwhile, Sienna was happily watching the first snow outside her window. Tomorrow is my date with Ethan. I'll wear the shoes he gave me. She prayed. I hope the snow in Chang'an doesn't stop too soon, so he and I can see more of it. The next day, Ethan went to the aquarium, sleepless. He realized he had been continuously raising the stakes in his gamble with Sienna, even though he had known all along that her every smile was just a carefully crafted illusion. He stared at her in the distance, her face red from the cold, but still breathtakingly beautiful. He had let her cheap tricks, lead him to make one emotional decision after another, and now he was about to lose everything. He looked ahead, a bitter smile on his face. His expression hardened, and he sobered up from the fantasy. It's time to cut my losses. He looked at her pacing in the rain, and wanted to know what she was thinking, if he was just a tool for her revenge. The more he thought, the more he bowed his head. Sienna, however, was getting anxious, seeing that he still hadn't shown up. He watched her, visibly agitated, and felt that this pointless waiting was a punishment for both of them. As time ticked by, she called him. Are you not coming? He was standing in a dark corner. Am I supposed to come and play a part in your act? He said in a low voice. He closed his eyes, still hoping. Sienna Zheng, give me a reason. At least give me one denial. But all he heard was, I'm sorry. Hearing those two faint words, the light in his eyes slowly faded, until it was completely gone. He knew there was no reason to stay. He turned and walked away back to River City without a second glance. In the rain, she heard the dial tone. She had known all along. He knew the truth, and he wasn't coming. She had thought that if she just didn't say it, the hurt, the lies wouldn't exist. But you can't wrap fire in paper. From the moment she decided to use him, the secret had been a thorn between them, making it impossible for them to have a truly equal relationship. This day was always going to come. The one whose lies were exposed had no power. The rain fell harder, the sound of it hitting the ground bringing her back to her senses. It's all over. Go home. Just then, a staff member approached her. Miss, you've been standing here for a long time. This place is booked for a private event today. No one is coming in. The owner has already left and we need to clean up. I don't know how long it's going to take to clean up all these flowers. Hearing private event, she went inside. The aquarium was a sea of blue, filled with blooming blue roses, all prepared by him. The meaning of blue roses is secret love and loyalty. She realized then that he had wanted to give their relationship a precious ritual, to convey his vast and restrained affection. Even the clownfish and blue jellyfish were happily circling around her. Looking at the stunning blue ocean, she realized she and Ethan had been just one step away. 3 days after returning from the aquarium, she had been holed up in her attic. Her mother called her to eat, but she wouldn't. Her father made dumplings, but she wouldn't eat. Seeing their daughter about to starve, her mother kicked open the door and threw off the covers. Time to eat. Do I have to beg you? But then she saw her daughter's red, swollen eyes. Honey, what's wrong? Nothing, I'm just tired, she said, hiding her face. Are you unhappy? Is work not going well, or is it something else? Her mother hugged her. If work is the problem, let your dad help you. You don't have to stay in the big city. Chang'an is a beautiful place. Mom and Dad will buy you a new house and a new car. Come home. You don't have to suffer like that. Your health is the most important thing. Mom, I did something wrong, she sobbed, hugging her mother. So you made a mistake. Who doesn't make mistakes when they're young? Just don't make the same one again. The light had gone out of her eyes. But there is no again. Of course there is. Time is hope. There's always hope, her mother said, comforting her. Hopefully there was still hope. She smiled at her mother. Mom, I'm okay. Hearing this, her mother took out her phone, a maternal smile on her face. Come on, get up and eat. And forward the voting link for the most popular teacher at Chingen First Middle School to your friends and vote for me. Meanwhile, at the racetrack, Ethan was scrolling through his messages all day. He went through his chat history with Sienna, then opened her social media and saw the new voting post. He was so angry he was about to explode. Hearing his friend complain that racing was more heartless than women, he threw his phone down. It is heartless and ungrateful. Then he got a call from his niece. Luna's stomach problems were acting up again and she wanted to take a month off. He told her to just quit. By the time the New Year holiday was over, Sienna still hadn't contacted him. Back in River City, she threw herself into her work. Everything was slowly getting back on track, including the follow-up work for Cloud Create that she had to face. Just then, Luna came to tell her she was quitting. Sienna was stunned. Sienna, my health isn't good, so I'm going home to rest. We'll get dinner sometime. She grabbed her arm. Did your uncle approve of you quitting? Luna smiled. He was the one who told me to. Until now, his departure hadn't felt real. But now, with Luna leaving, she truly felt it. He wanted to cut all ties with her. The next day, she went to Cloud Create. Unlike any other time, she came with a personal agenda and with a sincere heart. Even though she had made an unforgivable mistake, she still wanted to hold his hand, to embrace him, to tell him everything that was in her heart, just like before. Even if that impulse was as selfish as ever. Just then, the business partner saw her. Miss Sienna Zheng? Ethan turned his head slightly. In that moment, she wanted to see him so badly. She liked him so much. She didn't want there to be no again for them. When Sienna came back to apologize, he was walking past her after finishing an interview. She watched him get closer and closer, full of hope. I was the one who was wrong. My appearance in his life was a disaster for him. She remembered their first time at the stables. His penthouse? All the little moments they had shared. Their first kiss. This time, she wanted to be delusional one last time. She liked him, she wanted to be with him. With that thought, she happily walked toward him. I won't lie to him again. But he walked right past her, each step making her freeze. As he walked into the elevator, her heart turned to ice. Isn't this what I deserve? This is how he's always been. With everyone who isn't important. She had thought she was special. She scrolled through their chat history, her hopes still lingering in the dream of the sea of roses. She felt she should explain. But the I'm sorry she sent was mercilessly rejected. Her heart ached as if pierced by a thorn. I'm meaningless to him now. She went back to the office, found his company's email address, and sat down at her computer to write an apology letter. I know someone with his personality shouldn't have met someone like me. He must hate me. It wouldn't be dignified to keep bothering him. But at least I should convey my apology. After writing it, her period cramps started early. Before she could take an ibuprofen, the pain was so bad she couldn't even hold a glass of water steady. Seeing the fallen glass, she remembered the last time she was in pain, how he had been by her side, taking care of her. But now she was curled up in a ball and he wouldn't appear again. There really was no again for them. The sense of dependence made her sob, crying like a leaky roof. The emotions she had been suppressing for the past few days finally burst, and she started crying uncontrollably. Just then, a colleague came over. Sienna Zheng, Professor Jiang has agreed to your interview. She started laughing through her tears. The one from the US? That's great. I've been trying to get him for a year and he finally agreed. Meanwhile, on the top floor of Prestige, Ethan stood in front of his private jet, remembering the time she had come to find him. As the elevator doors closed, she hadn't even looked back once. Sure enough, I'm insignificant to her. He was drinking at a private club, and in his drunken haze, he saw a woman at 12 o'clock who looked just like her. His heart stopped for a second. But when the person turned around, he turned away in frustration. He stood up to take a walk. It's not her. Even the thought of her made him feel weak, and he didn't want to think about her anymore. He went back to a private residence, and once he got home, he got drunk again. The memories flooded back, and he called out her name, Sienna Zheng. But then he opened his block list. He looked at her profile picture, unblocked her, and scrolled through her social media, their chat history. Sienna Zheng, was any of it real, even a little bit? As he scrolled to the cheesy pickup lines she had sent him, he shakily took a drink, feeling like a fool, forever believing her. The next second, he blocked her again. But he couldn't help himself. He kept looking at her fake affection. Just then, he received her apology letter in his email. I'm sorry, I have no excuses, and I don't dare to ask for your forgiveness. I hope you never meet anyone like me again in your life. I wish you health and happiness. That's when he finally understood. All her cute, coy behavior was just an act to achieve her goal. As a financial journalist, this was her true tone. If he had realized it sooner, he wouldn't have ended up like this. Her voice echoed in his head, "Ethan, Ethan," each call making his bones tingle, until he started hallucinating. "Ethan, don't go, okay?" He completely lost control and started to cry. He knew he had fallen completely. She would never cry for me. Sleepless all night, he knew he had to do something. He sent her a message. So was any of it real? But the moment he sent it, he received a notification. The other party has enabled friend verification. Seeing this, he exploded with a curse. F! Sienna deleted Ethan's WeChat after a good cry. He had been clean and decisive, while she had been dragging things out. There was no going back for them. She decided it was just an unrealistic dream, and now that she was awake, she had to get on with her life. She went to the embassy to get a visa for her interview abroad. On her way back, she ran into her blind date, Owen. He said he was also going to the US for an academic forum. As he adjusted his glasses, she was reminded of Ethan, but she pushed the thought away. Since it was lunchtime, he invited her for some hot beef hot pot. Luna, who was nearby, saw them go in together. She pretended to be casual and went to investigate. Sienna, what a coincidence! She then sat down between them. Owen gentlemanly asked the waiter for another set of bowls and chopsticks. She immediately sent a message to her uncle. "Uncle, it's almost Valentine's Day and other men are already taking Sienna out for hot pot. Where's your initiative?" Then she sized up Owen. "Not as manly as my uncle, and he doesn't look as rich." Half an hour later, she received a new message. "So?" That infuriated her. "Seriously, can't you have a little sense of crisis? You just rely on your good looks and a little money." She angrily started eating. Owen blocked her hand. "Be careful, it's hot." "This soup just came out, drink it slowly." Luna's eyes widened. His hand was cool and comfortable, and it was so pale and smooth. She took a picture and sent it to Ethan. "He's more considerate, attentive, and gentle than you." On the other side, Ethan saw the message and threw his phone in a rage. It's only been a few days and she's already moved on. What's the reason this time? Revenge on her ex-boyfriend? He paced around his penthouse, wanting to do something. He sat down and picked up his shattered phone. "She loves hot pot that much?" He scrolled through the chat. "He's more considerate than you, more attentive than you, and more gentle than you." Then he received a picture and his eyes widened even more. Seeing his little darling laughing and chatting with another man, he couldn't take it anymore. He threw on a long robe, got into his Maybach, set the destination, and started the navigation. Sienna Zheng's residence. After driving to her apartment complex, he sat in his car, slumped over the steering wheel, waiting. When he saw her get out of another car, he almost lost control. He opened his door, ready to go and fight the guy. But then he realized, what right did he have to ask her not to date other men? To explain everything? He was just an insignificant person she had deleted from her contacts. Like a madman acting out a one-man show, not even knowing if she had ever loved him. He turned his head back, and she looked around as if searching for someone. He rolled up his window. She thought it couldn't be him. How could he possibly show up again? Real life isn't a movie. People who break up don't get back together. Once you miss your chance, it's gone forever. Our lives have to go back to normal. He won't come back. But from that day on, he came to her building every day without fail, for 3 days straight. Meanwhile, at the Shi family home, Luna was dressed in an elegant outfit. She heard her mother say that Ethan hadn't come home for dinner all week. Luna wasn't surprised. He's panicking, he's going to chase after her. "I'll just ask Sienna about Professor Yu. She seems very interested in him. I'll ask her out tonight." But Sienna said she was on an IV drip. Luna was furious, and immediately called her useless uncle. "Uncle, what kind of watch are you keeping? Sienna has a fever. She's all alone in the hospital." He started to sweat. "Send me the hospital address." He remembered her standing in the rain for a long time. He sped to the first hospital, ran up and down the stairs, and finally found her. He stopped, relieved. He saw her all alone on an IV drip, her feverish head lolling back and forth. He cupped her cheek. "Sienna Zheng, I've lost." For the past few days, Sienna had been blaming herself, making the time especially difficult. During the day, she could fill her mind with work, but at night she would have restless sleep filled with fragmented dreams. Sometimes she would wake up in the middle of the night, engulfed by a sudden emptiness. Her mind told her she should move on, but her body still longed for his touch, his warmth, his scent, and the dull ache of the memories. After getting through those days, her body and mind finally gave out, and she came down with a fever. The hospital was full, so she had to sit in the hallway. She couldn't fall asleep, she had to watch herself. Just as she was about to give up, she saw a blurry figure in front of her, and thought it was a hallucination. Lately, she had been seeing his shadow in all the places they had been together. She closed her eyes and heard a voice say, "Sienna Zheng," and felt a gentle hand on her cheek. She saw him drenched in sweat, calling her name, "Sienna, Sienna." She snapped back to reality. She tried to pull her hand away, but he held it down. "Don't move. The IV is finished?" The nurse just took out the needle. "You have to press on it for a few minutes." She poked his hand. looking around. Is it really him? It wasn't a hallucination. She burst into tears and hugged him. Ethan! She cried, I'm sorry, Ethan, I'm sorry. She said it 6 times. Ethan, don't go, okay? Just like every other time, he held her tight. None of that matters. Whatever the reason, she needs me, and that's enough, he said softly. He had already lost. She was his destiny. The other people in the hospital were all watching them, and he was so embarrassed he had her transferred to another hospital. When she was getting an injection, she started to cry. Miss, can you be a little gentler? I'm scared of pain. He covered her eyes. She felt his touch, his warmth, proving over and over again that this wasn't a hallucination. He was really here. She was so grateful that he had come to find her, to be with her. But today is Valentine's Day and we're in a hospital. You should be in my bed, he said. She blushed and giggled. You're right. He was so happy he could die. He covered his face and laughed. She was also amused. After she was transferred and her fever went down, he got her a private room and hired 8 doctors to take care of her. When she heard the doctors say she would be fine after a few more days of rest, she slept soundly, even snoring. His eyes started to well up. He remembered her crying and hugging him, her watery eyes begging him, Ethan, I'm sorry, don't go, okay? A smile played on his lips. He quietly watched over her, playing with her hair. I won't go. In the middle of the night, she woke up and started looking for him. She saw him lying by the window, and he opened his eyes. I'm here. She saw he had changed into clean clothes, and she knew it wasn't a dream. He poured her a glass of hot water. Take your medicine first. She took the medicine with some warm water. It's only 2 o'clock, he said. Go back to sleep. But she insisted on getting up to work. As she stood up, she suddenly felt dizzy. He came over, scooped her up in a princess carry, wrapped her in a thick scarf, grabbed her laptop, and told her not to move. I'll take you home. Suddenly, she saw his shattered phone. A call came in, and a man's voice said, That Fiona seems to be interested in you. She stared, wide-eyed. A talented, beautiful, and single young woman like her is really rare. He didn't listen to the nonsense and told her to hang up. She thought of that Fiona, how they had met at a banquet. A normal, deception-free start to a story. Her heart clenched. Unlike her and his memories, which were full of lies. He gently placed her in the car, and she grabbed his hand. Ethan, I wasn't completely lying to you. He looked at her clearly. Oh. Then he leaned in and fastened her seatbelt. Then what about Fiona? What do you mean by see how you perform? She was still dizzy. Performance opportunity? She decided to perform now. She grabbed his collar and pecked his chin again and again. He gently touched her forehead and lowered her seat. Back at her apartment complex, she was fidgeting, not wanting to get out of the car. Ethan, you still haven't told me how I'm supposed to perform. He saw her thinking so seriously, staring at her phone, and a fire ignited within him. He leaned closer. Have you forgotten what you should do first? She noticed his burning gaze on her hands, and she eagerly wrapped her arms around his waist. Ethan, is this what you want? The feel of him was strangely good, and she gave him a little squeeze. He laughed. Think about it some more. She looked up into his eyes and remembered a rainy night just like this, when she had first met him at the estate. She happily hugged him tighter. He didn't remind her. Just wrap the scarf around her again. From this angle, his love was overflowing as he gazed at her. Sienna, who told you that was the first time we met? After getting home, showering, and sending her files, she still couldn't figure it out. She sent him a message, then realized she had deleted him. She anxiously got his contact from Luna, finally added him back and sent him an emoji. He replied instantly, Sleeping. I'm seriously thinking about something. What's your ideal girlfriend like? Quiet? Proper? Serious? She was certain he liked her at least a little. Sienna Zheng, senior reporter at Finance Weekly. Quiet personality, proper profession, serious writing style. That's me. He replied sarcastically, Is that so? Then he sent a bunch of screenshots, all of her cheesy pickup lines. The dead memory suddenly attacked her, and she replied with a screen full of no, no, no. He told her to look at how quiet, proper, and serious she was. She suddenly sent him a movie invitation, and he smiled happily at the message. The next second, she sent another message. Choose to accept. He replied, Sienna, what's up? See you on Saturday. He was the first to fall asleep, but that see you on Saturday kept her up all night with excitement. When her scumbag ex came to Cloud Create for a project, the person he met with was Ethan. He didn't even look up, and the scumbag stumbled over his words several times during his presentation. Ethan tapped his fingers, extremely disappointed. His ex is this unimpressive? He remembered the first time he attended an event. The scumbag already had a girlfriend, but was still flirting with other women. Ethan had just glanced over, and as he was walking in, he took a call from a friend. There are a lot of beautiful women here tonight. A sweet fragrance wafted past him, catching his attention. Sienna's focused professional demeanor had shaken his cold heart. He told his friend he wasn't interested in going in, and his friend teased him for being almost 30 and still single. But he thought of the beautiful, clean-looking Sienna. Close your eyes and there are beautiful women everywhere. Then he heard a presentation on financial innovation, something he had studied abroad. He looked straight at the author on stage. He hadn't heard which part of her presentation it was, but his eyes were full of admiration. It's her! After she won an award for her presentation, he asked if she would be attending the next event. The first time he heard the name Miss Sienna Zheng, she was running past him with her award, smiling. Was my presentation amazing or what? He silently repeated her name. Sienna Zheng. But just as he reached out, she brushed past him and ran to her boyfriend. He was filled with envy and jealousy. A man like that doesn't deserve such an outstanding woman. His memory ended and he received a mua from her. He stood up and told the scumbag to go home, ending the meeting. He answered her call. Ethan, I miss you. He smiled even more brightly. He had never lost. A man like that didn't deserve his soulmate. But today, on her way to meet her potential boyfriend, she was beaming. She leaned over his desk looking at the stock market and started to complain. Workaholic! We're supposed to be on a date and you're still working. After waiting for 15 minutes, she got thirsty and wanted to get some coffee. As she stood up, he reached out and pulled her onto his lap, his legs trapping hers, his eyes full of desire as he looked at her. She blushed. What are you doing? Aren't we going to the movies? He took her hand. What's the rush? Let me look at you first. She was a little stunned. You're so annoying. If you wanted to look at me, you should have said so earlier. After you're done, we're going to the movies. But he just smiled, squeezed her waist, gently put her back on the ground, and led her to the movie theater. She was a little disappointed. Just then, a woman called his name. It was the woman from the phone call. Sienna was instantly on guard, but the woman just sized her up and then ignored her, holding out her hand to him. I'd like to add you on WeChat. Sienna took the offensive, grabbing the pretty woman's arm and insisting they all go to the movies together, which made him furious. During the movie, she could feel a burning gaze on the back of her head. Sparks flying. She took out the popcorn. Ethan, want some? He stubbornly refused. A mischievous idea formed in her mind. She held up a piece of popcorn, tempting him. Lean over and I'll give you a kiss. Want one? He glanced behind her, scoffed, and then took her hand, eating the popcorn out of it. She forgot to breathe as she looked into his eyes. He gently put her hand down, his eyes full of her. Sienna, I want more. For the second piece? She touched his soft lips, and he obediently ate it. Their eyes locked in a seductive dance. He swallowed, and she giggled. The woman behind them had been watching the whole show. After the movie, Sienna went to touch up her makeup. The woman went up to him, thinking Sienna was his beautiful niece. She's not my niece, he corrected her, but she is very beautiful. The woman still didn't give up and invited them to dinner. My little darling is a bit shy, he said. Sienna came back and saw them talking, her heart sinking. She saw his car and huffed. He's not just going to the movies to see a movie, is he? Seeing him about to go back to the office, she called out, Ethan, the breeze feels so nice. I don't want to take the car. Will you walk with me for a bit? He had one foot in the car. It's almost dark. You want to walk back? She dropped the pretense. What's wrong? Does the service have to be all-inclusive? That made him laugh. I'm serving you. She knew she had gotten carried away. He threw his jacket down and approached her. Who was the one who wanted to perform today? He leaned in, their foreheads touching. She thought, push him away. If I don't go now, I'm not going. He grabbed the back of her head and cupped her face, leaning in. Sienna stood on her tiptoes, hugged him tightly, and slightly parted her lips. But he just laughed in her ear. You dropped an earring, you know. Did you think I was going to kiss you? Yes, she said. He stroked her hair, saying he didn't have a habit of kissing in public, and put the earring back on for her. She grabbed his arm and made him walk with her. As the sun set, his presence finally felt real. He was really back, right in front of her, within reach. She skipped to catch up to him, then happily linked her arm through his. The warmth was real. They walked hand in hand as the sun set, and with every step she would call his name, and he would answer every time. Seeing her sweet smile, he knew it was all worth it. They took a break, and she said, Tomorrow Luna and I are going to an art gallery to see the 1,000-year-old fox. He didn't believe her. It's Luna who wants to meet my friend. His face darkened. The one you took calligraphy classes with, the blind date? Seeing he was unhappy, she leaned on his shoulder to appease him. Was I wrong? You're the best. And he's much older than your niece, you know. He was nonchalant. Even if he's 10 years older than me, he's still my junior. That makes sense. She took his hand again, wanting to make up for their lost time. Ethan, let's go together tomorrow. Sienna brought Luna to meet her blind date, Owen. The moment Luna saw him, she was smitten, and told Sienna to give them some space. The two of them hit it off, and Sienna was left questioning her life. I can't believe you actually have some artistic knowledge. I just looked it up on Wikipedia last night, Luna said helplessly. As long as I can fool him, it's fine. Is this Owen's? Sienna asked, looking at a painting. Luna was mortified. He knows about art, he was just listening to me ramble. The three of them went to a Monet screening room. Seeing that he hadn't exposed her lies, she knew he was interested. She carefully tested the waters, but he skillfully dodged her. When she got sleepy, he offered to take her home, and she was so excited she was practically floating. Sienna saw a tall figure in front of them, and then she saw him walking toward them. She ran over. Ethan! Luna hoped it was a hallucination, but he just took Sienna's hand and domineeringly announced, Friend, aren't you going to introduce us? Owen just smiled and nodded. Ethan was hostile. This is Sienna's blind date? When she introduced Ethan as her boyfriend, Sienna was confused. Shouldn't you introduce him as your uncle first? He wrapped his arm around Sienna's waist, giving Owen a death glare. Seeing he didn't deny it, she was whisked away into his car. She took off his black coat, revealing his black stockings, and drank his coffee. He looked at her lovingly. Did you have fun today? She said his expression just now was scary. She leaned closer. You don't think Owen is interested in me, do you? He wiped the cocoa from her lips. I think every man in the world is interested in you. The driver slammed on the brakes, leading to a classic couples argument. He tearfully explained, I definitely don't, and then raised the partition and shut up. Knowing he was jealous, she was smug. Well, if you think so, I can't help it. We're just friends. Just friends order a Valentine's Day set menu. She backed down, saying she was so heartbroken those days that she was planning on leaving the country to go to the US. He scoffed. You think you could bear to leave? Seeing she was trapped, she played the I like him card. He told her to send him her hotel and flight information. She then mentioned that Owen was also going to the US, which made him angry again. She changed the subject. Instead of worrying about me and him, you should be worried about Luna. He laughed arrogantly. Our family doesn't raise fools. She's very smart. That made her laugh so hard her stomach hurt. Meanwhile, Luna was sitting in Owen's car, falling in love with the handsome, gentle man. They chatted idly about work. But when they reached her house, she was reluctant to get out. Owen tapped his finger. She was a little anxious. Can we add each other on WeChat? After getting his contact information, she was willing to get out. As she walked away, she regretted not being more direct. She turned around. She had to be more direct about her feelings. Mr. Yu, do you have a girlfriend? No, he said with a smile. Then what do you think of me? You're great, he said, still smiling. She looked at his face. Sienna had said he studied abroad for many years. She decided to take the first step. Then, shall we go to your place? Owen actually told Luna her house didn't have a door, which made her so scared she called Sienna, crying about being poor. Luna was too aggressive, trying to go to his place, so he told her to go home. He pushed her away, saying, My house doesn't have a door. That made Sienna laugh. She told Ethan to control his niece. She's so bad at chasing guys, so dumb. She's pretty good at it, he said, telling her to go teach her. Then Sienna went to the US for work. And the moment she got on the plane, she ran into his secretary, who was on vacation. The two of them were secretly protected by his bodyguards, who reported back to him in their home country. The secretary had gone to college here, so Sienna had a great time. Even though it was night for him, he would stay up late to video chat with her. Ethan is so hot after a shower, still so domineering and so fiercely protective of his wife. He had locked the scumbag out, taken off his suit, removed his Rolex, and held her hands above her head. The scumbag was still knocking on the door, and she was shaking her head, hiding her face. He got angry, took off his glasses, and held her tighter, moving closer. The scumbag was still trying to break down the door, and she was dazed, wrapping her arms around him. He whispered in her ear, Do you like me? Answer me. She thought, Just say you like him. Hearing the word, like, he laughed, his breath hot on her ear. His pupils dilated, and he became more forceful. Say you only like me. And she said she had only ever liked him. Now they were following their own desires, confirming their feelings. Knowing she liked him, he held her even tighter, constantly seeking confirmation, until she cried cute little tears and he was sure she really had feelings for him. So he didn't have to hold back anymore. He watched her, dazed from his kisses, her eyes only for him, and then he made her cry. Then he calmly opened the door, comforting her. Be good, don't sleep, wait for me. And don't open the door for strangers. The scumbag was standing there and he heard. Now he protected her, his voice low and threatening. If you cross my line, then I'll make you live like a dog for the rest of your life. Sienna was meticulously getting a pedicure, and a colleague, drawn by the smell, came over. Wow, you've already kissed. Are you official? Don't go on maternity leave during the end-of-year rush. To make it official, Sienna immediately followed her colleague's advice and went out to buy something. But she ran into him on her way back. She mumbled something about going to the convenience store, and he dizzily pulled her close and kissed her. Are you trying to get into my heart? She played with the drunk lion. Since he was drunk, she should take off his glasses. What's your prescription? $4.50. She rubbed his face. That's so high, you can't see without them? He squinted at her. I can see you just fine. She sat on his lap, wriggling awkwardly, and started playing with his hair. He was still teasing her, and she got annoyed. Tell me what happened today. You forcibly kissed me, you know? Then he said something outrageous. She went for the big one. Ethan, call me baby. He stroked her hair. Baby, want another kiss? She stood up and issued a warning. I'm going to record this to have some evidence. He couldn't have asked for anything more. He would just leave evidence on her. Just then, she was pulled into a tight hug, and she loved the fire in his eyes. He was completely lost in her, all his defenses down, completely hers. Her eyes were red and swollen. The evidence I leave,